kids. It's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
I am surviving.
I think that's the best we can do anymore.
Yeah, that's what all of us are trying to do. We're all locked in a house from a pandemic, and my husband's like, let's remodel the kitchen.
Great time to do it.
So my level of survivability is drastically decreased every time he removes something from the house.
Oh my Lord. What a perfect time to do that right now, huh?
I mean, we're here. We might as well, I guess.
I guess so. But we're not alone this week. We've got a guest joining us, Eduardo Jimenez of Eclipse Games. How are you doing today?
Hi, Joe. Thank you very much. I'm good. Not remodeling the kitchen anyway.
You're not remodeling, no.
Do you have a sink and a stove and a fridge that are intact and functional?
Yeah, definitely.
You're definitely doing better at this apocalypse shit than I
am. Cole, you've got some problems, don't you?
Oh my God. Like, all of our food storage is currently in the living room behind me. I'm glad I don't use a camera, or like everybody would just see stacks of bags of Cheez-Its.
No, we got to get you on camera one of these days.
Oh hell no, we don't.
But Eduardo, you are here for a reason. You are launching upcoming game, Super Toy Cars 2. First time you were on the show was to talk about the first Super Toy Cars a couple of years ago, so it's good to have you back on. It's good to see a sequel to the game since we enjoyed the first game. For the people who don't know what it is, give us the sales pitch. What is Super Toy Cars 2?
Well, Super Toy Cars 2, you are going to be racing little toy cars around tracks made of everyday objects, and trying to kick each other's butt during the process, I guess. Yeah, the idea is that we're trying to cast the feeling of playing with those little toy cars when you're a kid, and one of the things that we were trying to do is not try to emulate how those toys really are, but instead try to emulate how a kid would think of those races would be in their mind. So instead of trying to be more faithful to how races in real life are with those toy cars, we try to think, okay, how would a kid think this race would be developed, or what kind of things would happen, and so on. And that's what we try to use as an inspiration.
And it works really well. I love the feeling of basically being in a kid's imagination, of being in the living room with, we've all been there. We've all set up racetracks as a kid in our living room when our parents would get pissed off at us for having everything laying out in the living room. But we would all make racetracks and race cars around, and it just translates so well to video game and being in the mind of a kid, and it makes me feel like a kid again playing this game.
Well, that's great to hear, to be honest. Thank you very much. To be honest, I mean, I got a 6 years old, sorry, and I can see him doing it now, so I kind of have that advantage.
Nicole, have you put some time into the game?
I have, and I'm also playing it right now. That way I have it fresh in my face while we're doing this, because I'm a good interviewer. And I was curious, which of the tracks is your favorite? Because I have a favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I've got kind of two sweet spots here. In terms of gameplay, I think it's called Music Studio Track. I like it. I like it a lot, and I love the fact that the ground is sort of like lighting up with the music, because I think that was something that was I think a very cool idea, and I think it works pretty well, although it can be a bit overwhelming at times. And I also like a lot the idea of playing in a casino, and also the I don't know, the problem is I've played the first I think it's called Nursery or Toys Mayhem or something like that. I can't remember the names, because we decided the names late in the development process, and we were using nicknames for the tracks. And the first one I played like a million times, because that's the first one we did, and we have evolved that track a lot, which means it's quite smooth and I mean it's but on the other hand it started being something and ended up being something that wasn't thought for. So I like it a lot, but because it's got like the scissors that cut, and the octopus, which is I love the octopus.
There are some really creative obstacles in these racetracks.
Thanks. And that the octopus, I think, was Tony's idea, and I think it was great. And I love those things. But the thing is, the track is a little bit too narrow, and a little bit short. I think because it started being something different. Because at the beginning of the game, we didn't know exactly how the handling was going to be. We were still experimenting with the handling in the game, etc. And at the end, we had a lot. I mean, for instance, the music studio tracks were done at the end, and they are bigger, which makes them easier to navigate and to negotiate. But I don't know, on the other hand, they lack some of the cool things, like having a scissor cut your way, or toy train get in the middle, stuff like that, or a spinning top. That was a cool idea, having a spinning tops moving around and you having to avoid them.
Those scissors are mean. I
hit them every time.
I tried sneaking through, and no, I got crushed.
They are cruel. They will get you every single time. Doesn't matter how much time you think you've got. They're like, nah.
Friggin' scissors.
The octopus will whack you too, though. That's unfortunate.
I was in second place in a race, and I decided to go left around the octopus, and the guy in first went right around the octopus, and all I heard was an explosion, and I won the race. So he got wrecked.
The octopus is quite dangerous.
Yes, quite dangerous indeed. So what kind of challenges did you run into going from Super Toy Cars to Super Toy Cars 2? What did you want to do with the sequel that you couldn't do in the first game? So
first, Super Toy Cars 1 released on Xbox One in mid 2015, I think. So it was 5 years ago. So we started this game late 2018, which was 3 years later. That means even though we had done some updates, because we did a Switch version and we did a PS4 version, and the PS4 version was released on January 2016, I think, or something like that, and the Switch version in 2018, I think. But the code was still very old, and it was I had to get all the code and redo most of it. I got the handling from the original, but I redid it almost entirely. So we wanted to make the handling easier, more like Mario Kart, but it's still not Mario Kart, because we wanted to have a little bit of this Need for Speed vibe to it. I mean, cars got we try to make the handling something in between a Mario Kart style game and a Need for Speed game. Both of them are arcade races, but different kind of arcade races.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I don't know if we succeed or not, but at least that's what we tried. And with the first one, the drifting wasn't particular. It worked at times, but some others it didn't. So we tried to make it easier and clearer, and we worked a lot on that. We also worked a lot on the on making sure it was you were able to negotiate all the tracks without drifting, and I think we kind of got that. I'm not 100% sure that you can do it without crashing the walls, but and without breaking, but almost everything you can do without breaking, which made it a lot easier to makes the game more accessible, because you don't want it to be a Forza game or a Gran Turismo game. You want this to be easy to drive, but then have some things that kind of give you an edge if you can manage them, like the drifting. And that was from a design point of view, that was a lot of time that we spent there. Then things that we didn't have in the first one were like the moving obstacles. I don't think we had those in the first one, and we thought it would be really fun if we could do that sort of things. We wanted to go further, but we didn't have time or enough ideas to go, mostly time to go more in depth on those things. And but we have quite a few of these moving obstacles, and I think they're good when you find them. And I don't know. The destruction. That's something that's something that we wanted to make for this one that we definitely couldn't do in the first one. So in Super Toy Cars 2, cars destroy a lot. You can go losing pieces and so on. And I think that gives the game a nice feeling, because when you crash, you get this slow-mo camera and all the pieces go flying away, and in the destruction game mode, you have to destroy a number of dummy cars, and I think it's pretty satisfying to destroy them and see all the pieces flying around and you going through them. I don't know, at least that's my feeling anyway, and I'm the developer, so I don't know. What do I know?
That's one of my favorite modes in the game. I love the burnout games, the crash mode, where you're basically just wrecking into other cars and taking them out and trying to take out as many as you can. And I got big burnout vibes playing that mode in this game, just driving into these dummy cars, wrecking them into the walls, smashing them, hitting them with power-ups. It's satisfying when you score like 40 some points in a round.
Yeah, one of my favorite driving driving games is Burnout Paradise. So yeah, definitely Burnout was one of our main inspirations in that regard.
I got tickled the first time that the hood on my car popped up after I hit something, and it just like flung up in front of me, and I was like, oh, that's really adorable and also horrifying. And then like you're flying around the corners and your doors are flopping around, and you're like, yeah, that's a nice touch, but also I'm gonna fall out and die.
That's why you wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, I think you need a little more than a seatbelt when that's happening. You like roll bars and safety harness. I am absolutely garbage at this supercar race. I can't win it to save my life.
Did you upgrade your car?
Yeah, and it's still just like, get fucked. They're mean. They're bullying me. They're like knocking me off the track, and sometimes it helps. I find shortcuts. We're on the casino one right now, playing around on the decks of cards. This is so lovely. It's really creative. Also, I want one of those wads of money. I kind of need it at the moment. I got immediately eliminate. Ah, fuck. I am bad at this.
Oh man. I really do enjoy the destruction in the game. I like that there's a full-on destruction derby mode. One of my favorite games of recent has been Wreckfest, which has a destruction derby mode. And there's just nothing more satisfying than going into a game mode where the goal is to just destroy the shit out of your opponents.
Yeah, I think that game mode can be fun, but I think sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes when it works, it's great, but when it doesn't, you feel like you're not able to hit the cars or whatever. It kind of feels annoying. So we need to think more of it for a sequel, if we do a sequel, because I think that there's a lot of potential in that game mode, and when it works, it's a lot of fun. But when it doesn't, it's just a bit disappointing, and that's something that annoys me from this game, to be honest.
I will say you might want to rebalance the power-ups that show up in Destruction Derby mode. I've gotten way too many shields and health power-ups in a row, and I'm just like, give me a rocket, give me an 8-ball, give me... I need to blow somebody up, and all I'm getting are shields and turbo boosters and health pickups, and I need to blow somebody up, and I can't blow someone up with a health power-up.
You gotta be able to survive too, Joe.
Bah. Good defense is a good offense, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's counter to what you're saying, though. He just proves my point, not yours.
Exactly.
Also, I just ran into a basket of fries. This is. It's fine. I'm doing fine. I'm still in first, but there's nobody else on the right track. So I am superstar.
I'm proud of you, Cole.
I am queen of the toy cars. This is going poorly, is what I'm trying to say. I just ran off of the table. The funny thing about playing this game for me is that my mother-in-law tells me a story a lot about how when my husband was a kid, he would sneak under the house, but he would take her spoons and he would dig out these big elaborate racetracks for his toy cars. And so when I'm playing Super Toy Cars, I'm like, this is pretty much what was going on in my husband's head when he was digging under the house and building these big elaborate tracks with spoons.
Well, if you think that, then I guess we can achieve our goals, right? That's definitely what we want to do.
See, you're gonna have to build a track now, like a DLC track that's just built with spoons. Out in the front yard or something. It's just a little dirt track.
Well, right now we're not considering DLC for this game, to be honest, because we are. I'm now working on the PS4 and Switch Sports.
You can just scrap PS4. Just scrap PS4. It's fine. Sorry, I'm very committed to the bit, and I just am not a PS4 fan. Has to happen. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted.
Yeah. So I'm really tired. So I want to finish the ports and then get. I mean, even if it's vacations at home, because I'm gonna become fine like everyone else.
Yeah.
But at least I won't be working 60 plus hour weeks, week after week, which is what I'm doing right now. It kind of it's like a Groundhog Day for me, but working 9 to 10 hours. So yeah, it's hopefully by the end of this week or maybe early next week, we will get the PS4 version in QA, and then it will be more about reacting to whatever bugs they find, which hopefully will be a few. And then talking to the press and then sending codes and stuff like that, which is okay. It's not so much work.
And then you get to do dumb shows like ours.
Yeah, that's great. it's the fun part of my day, to be honest. So
it's probably a break from looking at numbers, at least.
Yeah.
And code.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with the current quarantine situation. You said you were working like 60 hours a week, but when you're stuck in your home and you can do nothing else but work or browse the internet, you might as well be working. So you feel like the excessive urge to always be productive.
Yeah.
And especially when you're crunching to try to release a game. I imagine that's probably worse than usual.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we weren't confined, probably I would have taken a weekend off, because I run OCR races, like Spartan race and stuff like that. I like running these kind of things, and there are a few all over Spain, and I tend to drive around to compete in those. I mean, it's just participate. I don't really compete. I don't really care if I get 10th or 100th. I'm not going to be first. So that's for sure. And
it's cool to hear that you just do those races. Those are insane.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I find them very enjoying, and they're a great like break for me, because since they're not home, they're in my city. There's like one every year or something like that. I have to drive around, and I do like 10 to 12 those a year. And then
wow.
Yeah, that's quite a few. I go to a lot of races, and it forces me to take a day and a half off. And the first time I did that last year was like, because the year before I only went to local ones, and like I could drive back and forth to the race, like 2-hour drive from where I live. But last year I started doing those. I go. I don't know. I do like a 4-hour drive. Then I stay the night, and then I go back. I do the race and then go back home. And I stayed in a hotel with a bunch of guys from my association that we have here, and their friends and so on. And then it was like, when I was driving back, it was like, whoa, it's been like 36 hours and I haven't thought of work in those 36 hours. That's great. God damn it, it haven't happened in the months. And yeah, I realized that it was a great relief for me, and it was a nice thing. And I also enjoy sports, and that's the only thing I'm doing right now besides working and sleeping and eating. Is I train like an hour and a half every day, and it's a great break for me. It's at least it's something that takes my mind off work and focus on something else.
I wish I could get into the habit of working out. My drive and I am so lazy. I just have no motivation to get up and get moving, and I wish I had that. So props to you for actually working out and being active in life while my fat ass sits here and does nothing.
Well, it's kind of, I like it. I mean, some people like it, some people don't, and I think it's more about that. If you enjoy what you're doing, then you're gonna go on doing it. If it makes you miserable, then for sure you're gonna stop as soon as you can. I mean, you'll find an excuse to stop it, and that's the thing. I found something that I enjoy, and I keep doing it. I train mostly. I mean, I don't like doing weights. For me, it's boring. So I go running every now and then. Not now, because in Spain you're not allowed to. But before, I used to go running once or twice a week, and then I do calisthenics and stuff like that. I mean, not that I'm good at. I'm really shitty at sports. I've been all my life. I've been, I've never been the sports guy. Quite the opposite. I'm more like the geek and the and when I was younger, the fat guy. But yeah, I still enjoy it, and I like the challenge, and it feels good for me. So I keep doing it because I like it.
Have you ever been inspired to take your experiences in those Spartan races and develop that into some kind of video game?
I I've been thinking about that. By the way, I haven't done a Spartan race per se. They're different. I've done other different ones. Maybe later I'll send you a couple of pictures. But and one of the things when I was going to one of those races, I thought, okay, there is a lot that we can learn, or there is some things that we can learn from these, because they are. By the way, they are obstacle races. So you got like, say, 10, 12, 14 kilometers that you run. But in the course, there's like 30 obstacles, and those obstacles vary from a wall that you have to go over, or a I don't know how you call it, like those razor wires that you go like a feet or a couple of feet over the ground, and you have to go under them. And there are things where you have to, like monkey bars, where you have to hang yourself and walk with your hands. I don't know how to say it, and stuff like that. And they are usually they are laid out in a manner that it's both interesting for competing reasons, and on the other hand, fun for most people. So I found it interesting how you place the obstacles and how that relates to the fun you have in the race, and how that could relate to video games. So, for instance, they kind of like lump them together. Like instead of having, if you go like say 10K and 30 obstacles, instead of having one every 300 meters, what you do is they usually have like 1 or 1.5 kilometers. Then you have 4 or 5 obstacles, and then repeat. And that helps two things. First, when you get obstacles, you don't only have one, but you have a few, and that kind of, I mean, sometimes there's a couple of obstacles, sometimes, and there's only like 600 or a kilometer, 600 meters or a kilometer, and sometimes you got more obstacles, but there's more distance between them, and that's good because you can get like, it's like, to me, it's like having turns in a truck. If you have too many turns all the time, then it kind of gets weird. Like you're like all the time turning around and negotiating corners. And if you have only like an oval, it will get boring because it's just going a straight line, then turn 190 degrees, and then go another straight line. So you have to mix it up and to make it fun, and you have to try to sprinkle it up a little bit to see what works and what can you put here and there, and how far these interesting things are from each other, to try to make it interesting and fun, and it has to make sense also from a race point of view. Like you don't want to have, I don't know, like a big obstacle right in front of the start line. It doesn't make sense, right? You want to have it near the finish line because you may want to have it near the finish line, or you may want to have it halfway there, or you may want to have a turn. Having a sharp turn right after the start makes no sense. You don't have a speed. It's not going to be complicated. You want to have it a little bit further ahead so that you have had the opportunity to build some speed, and then it's a challenge. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's I appreciate a lot of the new obstacles that you've put into Super Toy Cars as well. Talking about the different obstacles and different challenges that you do in these races, just it translates well to Super Toy Cars with corkscrews and loops and stuff like that. So it's cool to see how the layouts have changed in the races, and just how interactive some of the levels have become with the different obstacles there, and the different challenges that await.
Great to hear that.
Cole, are you still dying over there?
Yes. I am struggling. I'm in the diner right now. Just a normal race, but in the diner. But I am in second, so I'm rolling. I'm doing okay. Oh, well, hit a wall, so rip that. Never mind. Oh, I'm still in second. Look at me.
I can't look at you. You don't have video.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Not as unfortunate as if I did have video, but
so we could see all your Cheez-Its.
Yep, I have a big stack of Cheez-Its.
So one of my favorite things about the first Super Toy Cars was the soundtrack done by the Spinwires. The soundtrack in Super Toy Cars 2 is fantastic. The Spinwires are back. A lot of different other bands and acts are in there. Tell us about the soundtrack to Super Toy Cars 2.
So for this game, I actually, it's kind of funny. We were before doing Super Toy Cars 2, we were thinking of doing something else, a different racing game, and we contacted Tyson. Tyson Prince is the vocalist, I think it's called, of the Spinwires, and he's been helping us with the music for a lot of games. And I told we spoke to them and thought, okay, could it be possible to get more people on board, like a few more bands? And he said, yeah, I'll offer friends. I could ask around and see what we can do. So he managed. He's also a lawyer, so he did a contract and he managed to get the rights from some of the songs to be used in the game. We're so happy that he managed to get all these people on board, and I think it makes for a very varied and interesting soundtrack. I love some of the songs. I didn't know many of the groups before, and I got them now on Spotify, and I think it's a highlight of the game because it's now. I mean, the first one we only had like 10 or 12 songs, and most of them were only instrumental. But now we have, I think, 36 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of tracks for the soundtrack, and it's from I don't know how many different artists, but maybe 12 artists. I don't know, a lot, and it is very, very varied, and I think that's great, and that's kind of what you would expect for a game like this. Again, thinking, as I said before, one of my favorite racing games is Burnout Paradise, and soundtrack there is, again, very interesting, and it's very varied, and you may have from anything from classical music to the Paradise City song from Guns N' Roses, right? And yeah, so it's so I don't know. I mean, obviously we cannot afford Paradise City, but well, I think that being an indie game, we have a good indie soundtrack, indie music soundtrack.
Yeah, I think the soundtrack's fantastic. It's definitely one of the highlights of the game for me. Like I said, I love the soundtrack in the first game, and it's good to see that you guys went all out with the soundtrack in the second one. It's not often that you see indie games have a licensed soundtrack to begin with, and to have such a varied and cool soundtrack is really awesome.
Great. Yeah, Tyson, I think, would be happy to hear that.
Yeah, Tyson's really cool. We talked to him in the past. He donated some Bandcamp codes to one of the contests that we did. We've played the Spinwires on the show before, so those guys are awesome, and it's good to see them back in the game and helping out with the soundtrack. That's really cool. I haven't met him personally, but what I've been speaking with Tyson, he's a very nice guy, and he's it's great to be able to work with him. I hope now he's been at that recently, so congratulations to him. I hope that he'll still have some time to work with us, because I guess I know for a fact that having a baby is a lot of work. But I know he loves music, and he enjoys a lot that part. So I hope that he'll be able to still work a little bit with us. I'm the odd one out here. I don't have any kids.
Terrible. No, that's true.
You have lots of cats.
That is true.
I have a lot of cats. I have way too many cats.
More than is necessary.
Way beyond what is necessary. Like we were beyond that years ago, and now it just keeps growing. We can't stop collecting cats.
Cats are like potato chips. You can't have just one.
Cats are like potato chips. You can't just have a handful.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a handful, and I have to constantly rein in D and number one because they would have a dozen more cats if I'd let them. And I don't know what point in my life I went from I want to be a veterinarian to I'm the one that has to say no to more pets. But it was a cruel and drastic change, and I am not a fan.
Well, I'm allergic to cats particularly, so I can have pets at home.
And you would not be able to visit my house.
Probably not. I got very I think it's congested when I enter a house there's been a cat all around it, and it kind of like it takes me like 2 or 3 minutes to be like suffering. And my son, I think, is also allergic to, and he loves animals. So it's annoying to him. He's like, Hector, you cannot do that because you're allergic. And it's like, no, I can. Look, I can do it. See,
I am allergic to animals, and I also give no fucks. I just take a Claritin and go on about my day. I have 4 dogs, 3 cats, 2 rabbits, and currently 10 chickens and a duck right now.
Wow.
And I am just like, I wake up in the morning, my one cat, 2 of them prefer my daughters, but my one is like super attached to me. And he sleeps right up in my face like every night. He just wants to be right there. And so then like I wake up and my eyes are all puffy and crusted. I'm like, I am the sexiest motherfucker in the world right now. And it takes me a good like hour when I wake up in the morning to just not look like I got stung by wasps all night long. But I wouldn't have it any other way. He's the sweetest thing in the world, and I don't have the heart to make him not do it.
Wow.
You suffer for your pets.
Yeah,
Joe, if you were allergic to cats, you'd do it too.
Probably. It's good that I'm not allergic to cats when you have 13 of them. Oh, my Lord. So what's next for Eclipse?
Well, I'd like to be sure about that too, to be honest. But right now we're porting the game. We're getting the Switch version ready, hopefully soon, so it can release late May or early June, and the PS4 version so they can release late June, early July. But then I'm not sure. If the game does reasonably well, our goal is to do another racing game in the Super Toy Cast universe, but not exactly Super Toy Cast 3. It would be something different. But I'm not sure. It's uncertain times, to be honest, and I'm not 100% sure we can do that. We have other things laid out that could or could not happen, but that one is currently our main bet, and that's and it's kind of frightening to having to make that decision based on something that is going to happen in 2 months' time. So we'll know whether the game is deploying well or not when not before July probably. And right now we're advancing a little bit in that game. But it's a bit distressing, to be honest, because you don't know what you're going to be doing. Whether if it goes well, then great, everything goes according to plan, fantastic. If it doesn't, then what the hell do? You still gotta pay the bills. You still gotta bring in some money. And thank God I have some savings, and the company can stand for a while without. Even if things go wrong, but that can only last for so long. And yeah, I hope that this game does reasonably well, at least get enough so that we can do another one. And because that's the thing is, I was talking today with my colleagues, Tony and Javi, who make up for the core of the team of Eclipse. There's more people, but they are not so core. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but anyway, the I think we have a reasonably solid foundation for the handling and how we build tracks. And there's a number of things that we like to improve, both visually and in terms of the layout of the tracks and things that we want to do, and new gameplay modes, new obstacles, some touches and things that we haven't been able to do, some things about rewards. We're not rewarding enough the player for doing the right things. And those are the things that we'd like to be able to explore now. So if we're doing a different game, but in the same, another racing game and in the same universe, we can explore, we can polish a lot what we have and explore these things that we were only touching because in the end, we have to finish the games, because if you don't finish the game, you don't get paid. And that's an issue. If you don't get paid, that's an issue. and so you have to cut sometimes things that you like to do, and you say, yeah, that's great. It'd be great to be able to do that, but we have to finish the game, and so we're not going to be able to do it. So you put in a backlog list, and that backlog list usually gets forgotten. But in this case, if you do a not a sequel but a game sort of similar to this one, then you could get that backlog back and say, okay, I wasn't able to do all these because I didn't have time, but now I do have the time. Let's get on with them. And I think it'd be great if we could do that, because we can really polish a little bit, well, quite a few things. We can polish them better, and we can make sure that we and then we go into more kind of fun things. Like I don't want to say anything because it'd be annoying, but for instance, something that we want to polish is the magnet, this power up where you can grab an object from the ground that is around the track, and you can leave it behind or even throw it ahead. I think it looks nice, it's fun, but it's not rewarding enough. It's something that you do, but most of the time it doesn't make a lot of an impact. And it's like, well, what if we could sort of like point it like you do with a missile, like you can throw it at an opponent, and it would make more damage if you hit it, particularly if the opponent is nearby. But if it's far ahead, it's going to be slowing down, and then when it reaches there, it's not going to do any damage, or it may not reach the other opponent. So, for instance, that's one of the ideas that we have, and also it could mean that if you get a big object, you can leave it behind as an obstacle that people are going to cross because it's big and it's going to block the way. While if you get a small one, you can throw it further ahead, and it's going to be more of like a missile or a projectile that you throw at an opponent that is ahead of you. So those are the kind of things that playing the game now and you know, while we were doing the testing, it's like, yeah, this could be a lot better if we had thought of that before, or we had the time to change it now. But obviously we don't have the time now for Super Toy Cast 2. But if we do a different one, then yeah, definitely we can do it. So yeah, that's, I don't know if I don't know if I'm making my point across.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm eager to see what those ideas flourish into in whatever this new project is. I'm curious to know how it could be in the same universe, but not really a sequel.
But if I did, I would be spoiling the game.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Joe's always trying to get people to leak stuff on the show.
That's my job. That's what I have to do.
Yeah, ask the hard questions.
And every now and then someone slips up and tells us something good, and
it is true. And then we have to cut it and edit the show. And
oh man, yeah, I'm too lazy to do that stuff.
Yeah,
so it's better to just not tell us anything.
But like game? No, I don't make games. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought I was just here for a show.
Yeah, just here to bullshit with us.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I know we've been chatting for quite a while. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't bring up?
No, I don't think so. Just a couple of questions. What are your favorite tracks, if you got any? And your favorite car too. Again, if you got any.
The Docker is my favorite car.
Mm.
It looks like a Camaro.
I like the
redneck
bug
enough
looking
to be
one.
down for it. And my favorite track is the same one you mentioned earlier, with like the music on the road responding to the audio. That is super cool. Although I do like the diner when it's got the corkscrew in it. That is cool too.
Yeah, I like the corkscrew. I forget what level it is, but where you drive pretty much up into the wall and go upside down.
That one stresses me out.
Yeah. I love the gravity bending tracks. I don't remember any of the names, though. I am terrible with names.
I can't remember names.
There are a couple in like with lots of music instruments. I don't remember the names too. I think it's side 2 or something like that. One of them, side B, or I don't know. As I said, and one of the things that we're gonna do for the next one is we're gonna decide the names of the tracks early, so we learn them. Also, it's kind of like Tony was saying, it like if you decide the name and you can kind of spin things around about the name, it's like, well, like some of them we had the idea, like the toy trains. We knew we wanted to add toy trains because I think those are cool and this is a nice obstacle. You have to go through the tracks of the train, and then if the train is going around, then you're gonna crash or it's gonna crush you, and that was fine. Okay, yeah, but it's like, so the name of the track is gonna have to do something with the toy trains, right? Or the spinning tops. So if you think about the names and think about things that are gonna be cool, then maybe you can make the track spin around those concepts. You can think of cool things around those concepts that make sense within that set of that mindset, and add cool details to the track. And he was right, and that's something that you can only do if you think of the names and the theme of the theme and the name are kind of the same thing of the track beforehand, instead of just trying to build a track and then think of what to put here and what to put there. So yeah, that's something we're definitely trying to do for the next one. Think of the names beforehand.
Cole, do you have any good name ideas?
No. You know how you ask me for final words every time?
Yeah.
When you catch me off guard like that, the answer is always going to be no.
Nice.
My brain's too slow. I have to have some build-up time to come up with a good comeback.
Oh, man. Well, Eduardo, it's been a blast having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a good, fun chat. The game is available now on Steam. It is coming out very soon on Xbox. What is the release date on Xbox? Is it out now?
It's May the 1st. It's now
May 1st,
pre-order.
Okay, so it's out in a couple of days by the time this episode goes out. So this weekend. There we go.
Yep.
How much is it? How can people stay in touch with you? Give us all the info.
Yeah, so the game is $14.99. We have a Twitter that's Eclipse Games SC, as in I don't know, S for Saturn and C for I don't know Canada. And yeah, I know. Yeah, I never spell in English. And you can also drop us an email at contact@eclipse/games.net. And I don't know what else. And then we don't have an Instagram. To be honest, I mean, I don't like Twitter very much. I don't know. I mean, it's too. I don't like it. I prefer. I don't like Facebook either. I barely use Instagram because my missus forced me to have an Instagram account to like her pictures. but to be honest, I enjoyed it. But
I don't use Instagram either. So, and Twitter's a necessary evil. I have to use it, so I do use it.
Yeah, I mean, I only use the company one, and even that is like, it's sometimes like I'm not good with words, and I need to put too many words to say things, and you cannot do that with Twitter. It's like that's annoying. Also, I don't know. There's too much information. Everyone is tweeting all the time, so it kind of feels like overwhelming, and sometimes you just don't like reading. I mean, that also tends to be very polarizing. I don't know. But yeah, you can reach me there, but you can always drop me an email, and I try to answer all our emails personally. I mean, I do my best. I mean, it may not answer the very same day that I receive it, but usually the next day I am answering them. So yeah, feel free to contact with me in any of those ways, and I'm always eager to hear what anyone has to say about the game, because we take player feedback seriously. Maybe, I mean, some people may think we don't, but we really listen to everyone. We may not do what everyone would like, but we try to listen to everyone and see what we can do with the resource that we have. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, so if you like it or if you don't like anything from the game, yes, feel free to drop us an email, and at least you let us know, and we'll try to answer any way we can. Yeah, we can also tell you if you are not unlocking some paint jobs, why are you not unlocking them? Because yeah, if you want to unlock all the paint jobs, sometimes you need to. That's something that we don't say it in the game, and it's quite something a bit annoying, I realized, because you may not know why you're not. If you have finished all the cups, the cups or whatever in first place, and then you don't have all the paint jobs, it's usually because the car needs to be fully tuned up. You have to get all the upgrades for that car. But that's something we don't say, and that's unfortunate. Anyway, that's one of the things we have
always
to
what
improve.
the next game is for, right?
Yeah.
It's a learning situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, man. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone else, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with more show in just a little bit. Eduardo, do you have any final words to end the interview?
No, really. Thank you very much for having me around, and nice talking to you, Cole, because I didn't know you from before. I met some other of your co-hosts, but not Cole. And yeah, thank you, Joe, for having me again.
Time is a fire in which we all burn. You never get it right, waiting your turn. Break the window wide, drink the day. When you've given up, give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Time is a fire we can't live without. Can you bring it in and put it out? Time is a fire we can't live without. Can you bring it in and bring it out? Bring it in and bring it out. Bring it in and bring it out. Set the window wide. Waste a day. If you live it up, give it away. Now you're bleeding out under the sun. When you give it up, come undone. Time is a fire we can't live without. Can you bring it in and put it out? Time is a fire we can't live without. Can you bring it in and bring it out?
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Another thanks to Eduardo for coming on and chatting with us. That was a fun time, wasn't it, Cole?
Yes, it was a good time.
And can you believe it was all in the same day?
No.
At this point, I'm just like days meshed together. Everything's the same day. This is March 97th at this point.
No, but for real, that was this morning.
Was it?
Yes. Doesn't it feel like it was days ago?
That's actually pretty funny because I thought you were doing the usual joke thing you do.
No,
you're just like,
I'm serious.
Like another day.
We did that today.
Yeah. I feel like it's been like a week. This is the longest
I'm still not
2 hours
convinced.
of my life. No, we did it today.
We really did it today.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and
wow.
I couldn't tell you what we talked about.
And it's been years since the conversation happened.
Wow.
Oh,
I'm
my
sorry,
Lord.
you guys. You guys need coffee.
I need different
I need a
drugs.
lot. I need a lot of something. I need something because I'm out of something. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
but as you could tell by the other voices, DarkMika is here, Pernell is here, and he didn't talk yet, but Chris is here too.
Hi. It's because I'm doing the thing tomorrow, 100 years from now.
I'm the important one, so it's okay.
I don't think any of you are that important, really. Cole, you are, but
I am.
Thank you.
I was
I'm
about to say, fuck off. I do this twice a week. These other fuckers just phone it in.
Hey,
Literally,
I'd be here
I'm on my
every time.
phone. I'm on my phone right now. So
Literally
Pernell
phoning it in.
literally is phoning it in.
I'm also on my phone, but it has nothing to do with the podcast.
Yeah.
Chris, can you even phone it in?
I'm phoning in another podcast over here.
Oh, my.
He's listening to another show while doing ours.
Yeah.
Oh, mercy. That's a skill. That takes a lot of class.
I'm not going to talk about whether I've done that before or not.
Oh, man. Everybody here is interesting, wonderful people who
Oh,
phone
no,
it in.
I'm terrible. I'm a terrible human being, and I'm okay with that.
I mean,
Root
if
beer's
I'm
on his
perfectly
phone.
honest, I'm scouring YouTube for ideas for my vinyl cutter.
I'm playing poise, so
Are you? Wait a minute, vinyl cutter. You trying to scratch some beats out?
No.
Album out here? Would you-
No, a vinyl cutter. It cuts like sheets of heat
Why?
transfer vinyl or adhesive
Oh.
vinyl, like contact
Oh
paper.
man, that's not what I was hoping. I was like
No.
MC Cole, straight from the
No.
holler to your ears.
Whole different
Oh,
type
laying
of
out some
cutter.
sick beats.
that hurts my soul.
That was an instance of the human malware hit. All my printers went down that I used to print products for me, and I was like, fuck it, I'll buy this shit and do it myself. And now, like, I might be addicted and constantly looking for new projects to cut.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
use a Cricut? Or
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You got
my
me
mom,
a Cricut.
my
Oh, I
mom's
love
gotten
it.
into that shit too.
Yeah. It was funny because I got the Cricut and I did a vinyl project, and then I was like, oh, but it can cut fabric. And then Dee's like, okay, I'll go get you some fabric. And I'm like, but then I need a fabric grip and pad, and then I need a fabric this and a fabric. And then, like, by the time all was said and done, he'd spent like another $40 some odd on fabric stuff for it. And then I'm like, okay, but I'm not that good of a seamstress. I didn't mean I could actually do all this.
Well, now
And then-
you're going to, and you're going to fucking like it.
You know, the funny thing, I actually am a pretty decent seamstress. I make the joke, but I do it, but because I do it by hand, it takes me forever. But then he was like, oh, well then get you some more vinyl. And so then I got a different kind of vinyl. I was like, okay, but now I need a heat press, and now I need like every time I come up with one project for it, it means I need 70 other accessories to go with it.
Yeah, and they're not cheap either. Shit.
They aren't. I was like, I fussed at him because he like went and bought me like the Cricket branded weeder and squeegee and stuff. I was like, you could have just got that all for $10 on Amazon unbranded. And he's like, I didn't know it was pink. I figured you'd like it. And I was like, well, you're not wrong.
What made you think I'd like it? Well, you know, girl.
I mean, to be fair, pink, purple, and yellow are pretty much the way everything in my house is if I have any say over it. So
Yeller.
Purple should be everyone's favorite color.
Pink-
It's the most
pink.
royal of colors.
A beautiful sky blue.
no, I hate
I'm a
blue.
blue
I don't
fan.
like cool colors.
I like
So
my
I don't
blue.
like blue. I hate green with a fucking passion.
The only green I
When
like is
something's
green
green.
ranger.
I'm like, fuck it, this is awful.
How does one hate green? That's the color of money. And not
And the
green.
Green Ranger, the only good green.
Green,
Green
no, the
Ranger.
Yellow Ranger was the best one.
Trini was awesome.
No,
again-
no, the
She's
Green
also
Ranger
in-
was the best.
She was also in the Crow sequel.
No, the Black Ranger was the best because he was also the black guy because that made damn sense. Oh my god! I always bugged me when I was like, wait a minute. So they made the Black Ranger the black guy aesthetics. Come
Hey,
on.
it
And
makes you
don't
feel
forget
better
the Asian was the yellow
Ranger.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just also
That was some racist shit.
That is some like they couldn't have just gotten a little creative with like let's just make the black guy the Red Ranger and the Blue Ranger can be the Toy Tray. Rest her soul. But it's like
Amy
like,
Jo
how-
Johnson was my favorite Power Ranger because I mean, look at her,
she's still active too, though. She writes
and she still looks the exact same. It's
She really-
insane.
She really does. And I think, honestly, I thought about it. If she came to Wizard, I was like, I'll go get her autograph for some reason. Just like, yo, hey, girl, I remember you. You had a bow, but you never fired it. What the hell's that about? Which, for the record, that was the strange thing about that weapon. She had a bow and arrow. She rarely, if ever, used the bow and arrow. She just smacked people with it.
Yeah,
It's true.
all the
Probably more
weapons
effective
were
that way.
useless.
It's like,
Yeah.
why
Even-
A could just bop you?
Even in the video game, you could smack people with it.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah, because I know you could fire it, but I feel like that was like used as like a
Yeah,
heavy
it was.
special
That
or
was a
something.
special limited move. Your regular attack with it was just to smack people with it.
It's a
Wow.
weird thing. It's like it's a bow. The firing the bow should be default. The heavy attack should be the actual swinging of it. It's like, oh, you want to get special? Let me just smack you in the face. You can't do that so many times because it'll break or whatever. But that just wasn't. That was a weird plan. It was a weird concept there. They weren't thinking. But that game was fun though, and the music was legit.
I never played it.
So we're both talking about the Super Nintendo one, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
had some Iku Mitsutani in there and some
Yes.
Kinyo Yamashita.
I love that OST.
How do
I
you
still
know
listen-
that, Chris?
Because I know
What,
things
like
when it comes to
music
video game music, and that's it.
The man runs a music group. Then again, I don't know half this mess, and I'm like, yeah, I like music. But
Also, I'm a particularly big fan of those two composers. So Kinyo Yamashita is the original Castlevania composer, and Iku Mitsutani did Shatterhand and a lot of other great Natsume games. Yeah.
We're
yeah,
learning
and I had
things.
my fair hits. Like if you tell me, like, oh yeah, it's totally Yoko Shimomura's sound, or that's a Falcom Sound Team sound.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
I got my bits too, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yoko
but you-
Shimomura is great.
she
Yeah,
is.
see, I'm the only one here who doesn't get that stuff. I tend to turn the volume off to games that I play.
Oh God,
I only
I
do if
don't
I'm recording a
listen to
podcast at the same time.
What you're
That's
doing now,
like
Chris?
me.
Maybe.
That's what I do too. but I'll admit, I won't lie. If I'm playing a game where I'm particularly interested in the music, I can't play it while I'm recording the show because I refuse to play it without sound. I can't bring myself to do it.
I always have music set to almost off in every game I play. I'm a terrible human being. I know.
Yeah, you are.
Like I
But
can't.
it's great
that.
because I'm fantastic anyways.
You can't be both. It's one or the other.
Nah, it's both. I'm perfectly terrible. That's all.
You're Terra great.
Yes,
Terra
Oh,
great.
Lord.
it's kind of like Frenemy. It's just stupid enough to work.
Speaking of being
Right.
stupid enough to work, we have games to talk about, and we're all kind of stupid enough to do it.
You were waiting
Oh,
for that
speaking-
segment. You were waiting for it.
We walked right
Speaking of
into that.
stupid, I should have asked you this earlier, but do you want me to go ahead and cover Gun Crazy?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I can do that. I just platinumed it.
Cole, can you
Short
guess who that game is from?
That's a Ratalaika. I've heard
Oh, yeah.
it takes 20 minutes.
I'm surprised you platinumed it though. I figured you could if you
That's
did it one sitting.
literally
But, cow.
that is Ratalaika's bread and butter. Is that they cost about $5 to $7, and you can knock it out in 20 to 30 minutes.
Maybe there's actually another Ratalaika game I'm talking about today that might not.
Oh.
There is.
But we'll-
Yeah.
Are you saying they've bucked the trend?
I don't know what that means, but yes.
There may be a guide. There may be guides to help you knock it out quicker. Let me see.
Oh mercy! I guess we can do these things.
Well, you guys are
about,
looking up.
about an hour. Yeah, about an hour 10 minutes to knock out the one we're talking about tonight.
Well, we're talking
well,
about two of them
okay.
tonight. So,
Yeah, the other one then that he was mentioning.
but we're not talking about either of them yet. We have other games to talk about.
Well, fuck.
Yeah.
So let's get started. First game to talk about tonight is called Moving Out, developed by SMG Studio and DevM Games, published by Team 17, released April 28th on Xbox One, Switch, PS4, and PC for $24.99. Moving Out is a ridiculous physics-based moving simulator that brings new meaning to couch co-op. Get ready for an exciting career in furniture as a certified furniture arrangement and relocation technician. Ha! Guess what those letters are. You'll take on moving jobs all across the town of Packmore. Pernell, tell us about Moving Out.
Well, Moving Out is a game that things I was really looking forward to because I'm a big fan of Overcooked and Undercooked and a number of other co-op-y games that have popped up in the last 5 years, many of them by Team 17. So the thought of this one was just honestly right up my alley, and I was ready for it. Alas, given the state of things, I can't quite get the couch co-op element down to play as like I want it, but does that mean that the game was not for me? Does it mean that I could not get the enjoyment out of it that I wanted? Well, honestly, I didn't get as much enjoyment as I would have I wanted to for the obvious reason, but the game is still enjoyable to play. What is Moving Out exactly? Well, so if you played I'm going to use the Overcooked as I can. If you played Overcooked, you kind of already know what you're in for, except then also you're moving furniture. But if you've never played Overcooked, Moving Out is a game where they will place you in an environment composed of just a general setting. It might be, in the case of this game, it's usually a house or some sort of weird, wacky house, or later on you get into situations like a fire pit or a freaking space station, weird levels. But the objective is always the same: to get furniture from wherever it's placed within the facility onto a moving truck. And that's a lot more complicated than it sounds at the face value, because you don't have a lot of movement abilities, but you need to put them all to good use. What you can do is you can run, you can grab things, you can throw things, and you pull or push, depending on the type of object. Now, in the event that it is a light object, of course, it's pretty easy to pick it up. You just grab it, run with it. You can throw it across the room, what have you. If it's a fragile object, though, then if you throw it and it hits the ground, then it will shatter. However, and I can tell you why I know this in a little bit, but if you throw it to another player and then they catch the object, then that's how you get around throwing fragile objects without them breaking. Large objects like sectional couches, things of that nature, single individual, when they try to pick it up, they'll kind of lug it sluggishly. It'll be harder for you to pull it. But if you have another person helping you, it becomes much easier. But now you have to collaborate to maneuver, again, things like a sectional couch or bed through narrow corridors and things of that nature. And if there's obstacles on that level, like a snapping turtle or fire or traffic or whatever, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But that's a part of the fun because, again, like Overcooked, much of this game's enjoyment will be yelling at each other to coordinate operations and get crap done as efficiently as possible because you're on the clock. And if you do not get all the objects onto the truck from their locations within a certain amount of time, you won't lose per se. You just won't get the coveted gold star ranking for completing the objective you need to complete. Now, this game is, what was I talking about before? About how I knew about the 2-player thing despite playing it alone. Well, there are a number of interesting customization options this game has available to the player. For example, you can play dual hand mode, where you can bring in another person and you control each person with the same controller. So I can have one guy on one end of the level, the guy over here, and I can just maneuver them simultaneously. Is that difficult? You bet your sweet Biffy it's difficult. But for the sake of the review, I wanted to give it a try. And it does work, but when you get to the more complicated stages, you might just be throwing that right out the window. And this is coming from a guy who played Adventures of Cookies and Cream alone on PS2. Yes, it's that hard. But the option is there if you think you've got the chops for it. Though, thankfully, they also have another set of options that they listed under something called Assist mode. And what those options are a number of things designed specifically to make the game customizable for enjoyment depending on your situation. For example, let's say you're playing a level and the gold star ranking is 5 minutes and you don't get 5 minutes, but you're trying to have a good time. What do? Well, set longer time limits. Now the gold star might take you 7 minutes instead of 5, which means you have more time to accomplish things. You can make it so that when you put objects on a truck, one thing, Bob, going to preface it, when you put objects on the truck, they usually stay there, which makes it harder to stuff things on the truck as you get further into a stage, because if you put a bunch of small stuff down first, now you got to drag a couch onto it, you got no room to pull the couch on the truck. So what do? You can turn on the ability to make objects disappear when they get into the truck, which means you'll never have that problem. You can turn on options so that objects that usually require multiple players suddenly become light enough that a single player can pull them around the house. So for someone like me who is playing it alone, I could just activate that and now not have to struggle about dragging a couch around, though it's still freaking hard. It's now actually something I'm capable of friggin' doing. So,
Chris, are you capable of moving a couch by yourself?
I sure don't want to.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a real life assist mode? God, that would be nice. I had to move a couch up like 4 flights of stairs in an apartment building. That was hell on earth.
I want to point out, while we're talking about assist mode and stuff, there's other accessibility options that are very important that Moving Out has that a lot of games could benefit from. They also have a dyslexia setting. So if you have dyslexia, seeing the text, because it's like a bubbly kind of cutesy font that is white on black, if you have dyslexia, that's really difficult to see. And so you can click the dyslexia setting and it makes it all one clean cut monotype. There's also a UI magnifier. So if you are visually impaired and you need the text to be larger and more visible on the screen, you can use that magnifier and it blows the text up for you.
Oh my God. A game I'm going to be reviewing later tonight could have done well with that feature.
A lot of games could benefit from UI magnifier. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see that.
They definitely went all in on making this game, functional for like the average, for pretty much any person that wants to play it to come along and have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And while I'll admit the early levels don't particularly have the crazy shenanigans you'd expect from something like Overcooked, they come later. And when they do show up, you'll be having a freaking good time with those. So don't worry if you're like, man, I'm tired of moving couches through this house, or now I'm moving couches through this, 80s style swank pad. What do? Well, hang on, and soon you'll be in space. Soon you'll be running through traffic. Don't you worry, it's coming. But honestly, even the baser levels are a good time. And with the accessibility options in play, you pretty much can just set them to your own whim and just enjoy it for what it is. So my thought in general would be, as far as like the full price goes, it's a mixed bag if you're in a situation right now where you can only play it alone. Because while I did enjoy what I spent with it, I'm not going to front. The real joy will be playing it with my friends when I can get around to playing it with those people. But if you're the type of person who actually has like a spouse at home with you, or some kids, or roommates even, you can't go wrong. This is a gem. Like, I will say that I do prefer Overcooked. So buy Overcooked, damn it. But if you're already a fan of Overcooked and you want more Team 17 madness, you're in for a treat with this one. You're going to still enjoy it. You won't be going Gordon Ramsay on your friends, but you'll be going iconic moving guy on them, whoever that would be.
Chris Taylor.
You'll be doing that. Chris, I can't picture Chris Taylor being that guy. I was like, what are you doing, you idiot? Move the couch counterclockwise, not clockwise. Are you drunk? God, I hope you're drunk, because otherwise you're just stupid.
My goodness.
Wow. I kind of want to be that guy, though.
I don't think you would be. I'd see Chris be more like all right, guys, look, I'm going to put on some bubble bobble music to kind of bring the mood down. Now, just relax. Let's just get this done. We have all day, but just in case, I'll put for an extension. We'll have till tomorrow to get it done. Just relax. Just move the couches at your own free will.
I just like that Chris would play bubble bobble music to bring the mood down instead of to bring things up. So like, let's relax with some bubble bobble.
Oh yeah, it's a lounge version.
Actually, yeah, my band does a lounge version of that song. Also, we've experimented in doing a really dour minor key version of it too.
Do it.
But we might. I mean, we still got to record some parts of it for our album, so that might
I also wanted to mention before I forget that the game also does have a good bit of charm to it too. Like the level select is you actually driving the truck around town, crashing in the cars that are driving around the city. You can knock stuff over, just be reckless. And every time you enter or exit a stage, the characters and the owner of the moving company work for, which for the record is just a stack of glued boxes, just like with like a face painted on. So it's like, I'm the boss of Pack Up, or whatever the name of the company is in Packmore Town. But like they have like dopey conversations, which are cheesy, but as they should be cheesy. And the intro of the game is an 80s tutorial video. And the way that it runs is actually pretty funny. And when I first booted the game up, I was confused. But then it all made sense. Like, oh my God, that is so true to things. I like this. And I think that's why I didn't want to say what it was, because I feel like anybody who plays this game, they deserve to have experience. They deserve to experience that firsthand too, just that intro sequence. And then all the music, of course, is very 80s-esque as well, where it's like that style of sound. I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you thought of the 70s music that would play on a 70s film, but no, this is 80s stuff. So it's good. It's good.
Nice. So overall, $25 on it. What's your verdict?
I think it's a solid buy it definitely right now if you've got people to play with you. If you're playing it solo and you don't have the means to reach out just yet, it might be worth holding off for sale. But the moment you can play with other people, get on this bad boy. You won't regret it.
And if you are on the fence, it was a surprise launch on Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, bam. Yep. There you go. You have no excuse then. Get on it. Or if you have Xbox and Game Pass, you have no excuse. Get on it.
Which you should have Game Pass by this point.
It's also on Game Pass for PC.
Yes.
So you're not just limited to Xbox.
I like this house. See, that's how it works. I like when someone tells me, "Oh, how am I going to get this game?" You don't have to get it. It's on Pass. Just play it now.
It's on Game Pass. And you should have Game Pass Ultimate by now, really. If there's one thing that we drill through your head every fucking episode, it's that you need to have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
I don't have Ultimate. I just have the normal one.
And what the fuck is your problem?
You could update. You can upgrade and it rolls yours over and gives you extra time. They don't do that anymore.
I don't have a Win 10 PC, so
it doesn't matter. What it gave you extra time.
Really?
Yeah.
There was time now.
Like,
time to game.
6 extra months for free if you rolled it up.
Oh, I thought it took I thought for every 2 or 3 months of standard would give you 1 month of ultimate.
No, that's after you already convert.
Now. Yeah, but before it would have gave you extra time.
Well, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Speaking of you, next game to talk about is yours. It's called Deliver Us the Moon, developed by Kyokin Interactive, published by Wired Productions, released April 24th on Xbox One and PS4 for $24.99. Deliver Us the Moon is a sci-fi thriller set in an apocalyptic near future where Earth's natural resources are depleted. A lunar colony providing a vital supply of energy has gone silent. A lone astronaut is sent to the moon on a critical mission to save humanity from extinction. Will you save mankind or be forgotten in the dark abyss of space. Aki, tell us about Deliver Us the Moon.
Earth is fucked. Like, no matter what you do, Earth is fucked in the game. Just so you know, it's fucked. One of the first things it shows you is you going into space and fucking, it's not even, it's a dust ball. That's all that's left of Earth is a fucking dust ball. There's no saving it. It's fucked. So I don't even know why they're even like, oh, are you going to save it? No, it's fucked. It's just gone. Deal with it. But you play as an unknown person for a very long part of the game. They don't tell you who you actually play as until about 70% or so through the game. I was
about to pop my headphones off because I didn't want a spoiler.
Yeah, I try to avoid spoilers as best as I can.
You better.
I have theories, but I don't want to.
Welcome to this game I'm going to review. Here's the ending.
Everybody dies.
Sometimes.
Well, for the most part, you're the only one in it. If anyone's played Tacoma, this is very much along the same lines. You're seeing how things already happened while trying to fix this energy substation, basically, that's sending energy back to Earth from the moon, which is the weirdest fucking thing I've heard in a long time. But, hey, it is what it is. And, you're finding you have a little robot companion thing that reads off memories of the past whenever you find them. So basically, you're just seeing the story of what the fuck happened in the first place, so you know how to hopefully maybe fix it, possibly. And so this place completely went down, and they had to evacuate everyone from it because without energy, the tower, the elevator, doesn't work anymore. So they're like, okay, these people, you only have X amount of time to get out of there, so get the fuck out of there. And then you're coming there, like, I think 2 years after that to see what happened to everyone who didn't make it back and to see what exactly caused the malfunction in the first place. You can't really die in the game, which is nice. You can run out of air in the vacuum of space because that's how space works.
I would argue there's quite a few ways you can die. You can get electrocuted. You can get blown up. I had a tower crash down on me. I ran out of oxygen. I was purposely fucking around a lot of ways to die.
How the fuck did you get a tower to fall on you? What the fuck did you do?
That
shouldn't be possible. Yes, it's in space.
Yes, it is.
It's space.
Sadly, there's not really much I can say about the story because all of it's very much spoiler territory. Mm-hmm. So the voice acting is really good. The music is, I don't know, because as I already stated, I mute music because I'm a dork. And it plays really fluidly. It was something I was really happy with. Everything is very fluid. So you move around very simply. In space, you can jump higher and further than you can when you're on artificial gravity. And it's really nice. I've thoroughly enjoyed the movement system, which is like 90% of the game, because it's effectively a walking simulator.
No.
So, yeah. Any questions? Because it's very hard to talk about something that you can't really talk about.
I would like to point out that I had a game-breaking bug and had to start all over from the beginning.
What happened?
As I mentioned, I killed myself with a tower.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck you did that, because that shouldn't be possible.
But when I killed myself with the tower, I respawned, because at least the checkpoints are fairly forgiving. Usually it's I would bitch that there are a couple moments where, like, I died clearly at the end of a puzzle and would get sent back to the whole beginning of the sequence. That would take a good 15-20 minutes. But for the most part, it's fairly forgiving. It does have its moments. But it respawned me right back in the tower before collapse. And the problem was, though, that it spawned me inside of closed doors.
Oh, lovely.
And so, like,
Ouch.
the doors are closed around me. I can't go forward, can't go back. I can turn around in 360, and that's it. I couldn't move. So I had to completely just scrap the game and start over again, which is why I had to holler, no spoilers, because I'm not any further than that as a result of the game breaking. But
those are issues most players are not going to have, because it is very hard to kill yourself in this game. How Cole managed to do it, I'm still at a fucking loss, because it shouldn't really be
Cole
that easy.
breaks every game she plays.
it's true. I would also
Yeah.
like to point out that there are some sequences that if you have trouble with motion sickness, either take some fucking Dramamine or play something else. Because there are
So you're
some
saying I should
zero,
avoid this one.
yeah, there are some zero gravity moments, and
Oh,
I
those
give
are so
I
fun.
give Joe grief about being motion sick all the time. There are moments where like I get a little queasy, but Deliver Us the Moon, I fucking turned it off and went and vomited.
Oh, wow.
It got me. And it got
In your
me hard.
face.
So I was like, well, that's gonna come back to bite me.
Wow.
There's
That
my
sucks.
karma, because it really, I don't know if it was because I was kind of tired and I was playing it late at night or what, but there were just a few scenes where the earlier ones in particular where I was just like, oh, I can't do this.
See, I'm
And
so used to having things like that in games from playing stuff like Dead Space that doesn't bother me at all. I'm lucky.
I didn't have any problem with narcosis, so I was like, I'm going to be fine. No, I was not. So that is something to take into consideration if you are going to play. Either take some Dramamine, get you some C-bands on your wrist, get you a puke bucket, or go play Moving Out.
Or go play Moving Out.
Because that's not going to make you sick.
All right. Well, Aki, $25 on Deliver Us the Moon. What do you think?
Oh, hell yeah. It's totally worth it. You get 10, 15 hours of fun out of it. It's good.
And if you're on the fence, another game that launched right on Game Pass.
On
Oh, I didn't
Xbox
know
and
that.
PC.
There you go. Xbox and PC.
Very nice.
Good stuff.
Still blows my mind. How the hell do they make the money?
Magic.
There was an article once where the developers of Descenders said that the Game Pass is such a marketing push that they earned 4 times more than they had anticipated just by
Really?
launching into Game Pass. Because you get plastered everywhere. A lot of times, these indie games would not get featured on the Xbox dashboard without coughing up some moolah.
Mhm.
But, if they're in Game Pass, oh, well, now they're in rotation. They're in heavy rotation. They're going to have the social media blasts. They're going to have the feature on the dashboard. They're going to have be featured on the website. They're going to get prominent placement in the Xbox apps, the console apps that people use on their PCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a marketing push for them.
It's good value for your money, for
Yeah.
sure. And it helps devs out a lot because they just get more exposure. More exposure means more people are likely to buy your game.
Even if somebody sees it and goes, oh, well, I'll wait for it to go on sale or whatever, that it still is a game that they might not have seen in the first place or put on their wish list or gave a fuck about.
Yeah, I've found lots of games on Game Pass that I wouldn't have known about that are just little indie gems. And yeah, and I'm someone who specifically reviews indie games. So
Yeah. But there's
And
so
porn
many that
games.
come out all the time that
oh yeah, porn
it's
games.
easy even for people like us who keep up with that shit to miss them. And Game Pass is a good way to catch something that otherwise would have flown under your radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
I love Game Pass. I just wish I had more money.
The story of my life. Woof.
Yeah, we're all there. But next game to talk about is called Obey Me, developed by Error 404 Game Studios, published by Blowfish Studios, released April 21st on Xbox One, PS4, and PC for $19.99. Set in the modern world, heaven and hell are locked in a millennial conflict for the souls of mankind. Vanessa, held a lowly soul huntress in the infernal ranks, and her hellhound companion Monty will tip the balance of war with their own hands. Pernell, tell us about Obey Me.
As I've been referring to it as Old Obey Me, I don't know why. I haven't stopped. Help me. Anyway, Old Obey Me is a great game. So the basically plays as like a top-down beat 'em up style game. Don't think. It's a top-down beat 'em up style game. You can you control Vanessa, the main character.
Don't think. Don't think.
Don't think, just do.
Well, I got to do something besides think, and that's thank Cole for dropping 50 biddies in chat.
Put the biddies in the cup.
Drop it.
But were they one at a time?
Yes.
And then,
There was
and then
50
Carnage dropped 10 earlier that I forgot to give him a shout out for. I played the sound clip, but I didn't get a chance to say thanks. So thanks, Carnage. But anyway, Obey Me, or Old Bay Me.
Old Baby. The main character, if you're playing by yourself, you control Vanessa. And the way she functions is, there it is, the comparison I wanted to make. Think of it as like a top-down Devil May Cry in this regard. Because the way she controls is, as you run around, you get to use basically the A button as your basic attack. There are some other functions lumped into that, such as holding down the A button to charge your heavy attack. And there's some combinations that you can play off, just hitting A twice and then B, like a warp dash attack. There's a dash as well, like a sort of quick warp maneuver for like evasions. And like another button, your X button's like your weapon's like sort of special with like extra mover basically that you can kind of upgrade. In addition, Monty, who is the dog companion, if playing with another person can be used via co-op, but if not being played with another person, he kind of just helps you out. Like he just battles when enemies show up. But he essentially functions into the main character's role by allowing you to do something called a trigger attack, where depending on what form he's in, which I'll talk about in a bit, you can whack enemies to whack them enough to charge like something called a spirit gauge in them. And then after it's been charged to a certain extent, you can hit the trigger button to make Monty attack them, and it knocks out like these like kind of blue gems which charge your special meter. When the special meter is fully charged, or at least one block of it is charged, Monty and Vanessa can fuse into one like super being where she'll start getting her health back slowly. She does more damage, and her trigger attack becomes a modified form of attack based on Monty's form. As you proceed through the game, you will acquire new weapons for Vanessa, which can be switched on the fly, again, a la Devil May Cry. So you might say, for example, get a hammer and decide, hey, the daggers are a quick attack, the hammer's slow and powerful, so I'll go / dagger, hit the left bumper. Now you're switching to the hammer and going right into a hammer combo attack. So it's kind of cool to just kind of jump between the two types of moves. And as far as Monty's upgrades go, as you defeat bosses in each area of the game, he will then eat the boss, because he's a glutton like that. And as a result, he'll develop a new form, which he can also have switched between. And each form has a different elemental property. And with that elemental property, he also gets new attacks. As you play the game, you'll beat the tar out of lots and lots of enemies. When you beat enemies up, you'll acquire soul gems, and occasionally you'll find them via crystals you can shatter on each level. Sometimes hidden, sometimes not. And you can spend those crystals to purchase upgrades for the characters too, whether it be attack power modifiers for the weapon itself, or new attacks for the combos that you use. Like, well, I won't say like, it's like it says, exactly how it sounds. You get new attacks and new modifiers for the various weapons. So you can upgrade each respective weapon along skill trees. You can upgrade Monty's various forms via skill trees. It's actually kind of nice. It's got a bit of a nice flow to it, because it's one of my favorite forms of a Skinner box is getting resources and then spending them to make my character stronger or play differently. So I appreciate that. The game itself has been a joy to play. I enjoy the music. I like the banter between Monty and Vanessa quite a bit, actually. They talk a lot during the game, which is a good thing because it breaks up, the traversal between battles that take place within the game. Because you'll be doing a lot of traversal between battles. The levels themselves are fairly linear with the exception of the occasional offshoots to different zones, which is when a lot of their dialogue will happen. But whenever you get to a specific arena-style battle, similar to Devil May Cry, you will have to beat the tar out of the enemies as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, because at the end of the struggle, the game will grade you based on how well you did in the form of how long it took, how much damage you took, and I can't even remember what the darn last thing is, damage that you did. So essentially, you want to get in, knock the tar out as fast as possible, and not take hits. And as you do that, you'll get graded, and at the end, you'll get a score based on how well you did across the entire stage, which ranges from anything from like a C, which I never got, to a double S, which is pretty cool. There's basically 4 worlds or chapters, and actually I won't say chapters. There's 4 worlds, and each world has multiple chapters, like about 3 chapters apiece. So you have a fair bit of game there to play because the levels aren't short either. They're pretty lengthy. But ultimately, I did find the game to be enjoyable. The only gripe I personally felt, 2 gripes, was one, the environments felt kind of samey in respective chapters. Like they weren't ugly or anything, thank heavens. Like they weren't bad to look at, but after a certain point in each chapter, you're kind of like, okay, I'm done with this scene. Let's move on. But every chapter within a scene, per stage, looks almost the same. Like run down this street. It's just another quarter to get to another battle. But it is what it is. The other issue I had, though, is something you do adjust to, is I feel like it was like a little bit of like a weird delay. Like I don't want to say it's like a delay in the sense that it was a technical issue, but a delay, like I think it was deliberate that way. Because have you ever played a beat 'em up game where you want to mash the attack button, but they designed the game so that the character has movements, and those movements are going to happen regardless of how fast you hit the button. So if I hit A 3 times fast, she's still going to go slash, then slash, then slash. And I'm sitting here waiting, like, okay, I'm ready for the next string, but no, she's in her animation. So you have to adjust to that fact of realizing when I start an attack, she's not going to just like go wild with her weapon. She's going to swing at the speed it's been programmed, and you just have to time your attacks to get it effectively in. Doubly so if you want to start playing around with switching between weapons and combos, because you obviously can't switch to a new weapon if you're still in the middle of an actual string of movements. So that's not really a bad thing so much as it's something to get used to. But initially it's going to feel like a game has delays and attacks, but really it's just once it starts, you got to let it do its thing. So
I didn't know if there was more. There was a pause there, so I thought you had more to say.
A pause. Monty likes it.
Well, Cole, did you play this one as well?
I did. I did play it as well. I definitely agree with the top-down Devil May Cry feel. But yeah, I also would have griped about the same thing Pernell did as far as like feeling like you're being stilted a little in combat because she just doesn't move fast enough to keep up with you.
I have a couple important questions. One, is Vanessa attractive? And 2, can you pet the dog?
Well, Vanessa, I'll go with yes. And she's very darkly sarcastic. So if that's your cup of tea, then grrr. The dog, I don't think he'd want you to pet him. He's a pretty in-your-face dude.
Yeah, he's pretty spiky and flamey, and he might not be fun to pet.
He'd be like, yo, girl, what you doing? I'm trying to eat over here.
Yeah, he will shut your shit down.
I am sad. I want to pet the dog even more now.
All the resistance just makes me want to pet the dog more.
No, Lord.
I mean, I pet lizards like dogs for that very reason.
How are they receptive to that?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Some of them are.
Interesting. You get pictures of lizards like, this is great. I'll get some flies or whatever lizards eat, and that'd be great. Actually, now I want a lizard.
Yeah,
Now I want a lizard.
That escalated
lizards
quickly.
are not like dogs though. That's
That
something
did
you have to
escalate
keep in
quickly.
mind.
See, and now in Old Bay Me Too, they're going to have like a pet lizard named like Fresco to just kind of hang out with Vanessa and Monty.
Oh my God, Pernell, $20 on Obey Me. What do you think?
I think it's a solid buy. It is a game I didn't even expect I didn't know existed, and I actually think it's pretty fun to play.
Awesome, sounds good.
It is. It is good.
Cole, any final thoughts on Obey Me, or do you think Pernell handled it?
No, I think he did pretty good. I agree with him. I had a really good time. It was one of those where like I kind of just found myself zoning out and wandering through and just smashing the shit out of stuff and being perfectly content to do it.
Yes.
Which is good in games. Some mindless mayhem is always good.
Look, when you play Rocket League and Call of Duty a lot, sometimes you just need something to let you just push the button and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
Or in my case, La Mulana. Because God, you don't just press the button in there.
Because you won't motherfucking play Ori.
It's coming. It's coming. I don't want to let the meme die too soon.
Lies.
Speaking of he's coming. We are adding someone else to the call right now.
Is it Norg?
Did he bring pancakes?
Is he going to answer?
Pancakes.
Are they wet?
Are they wet?
Norg. Now I'm want to get Norg. He's like, I don't want to be here now. You guys,
The pancakes might not be, but everybody else is.
I love how the first thing that happens as soon as I connect is I hear Cole say, "Are they wet?" Like that is literally the first word I heard. I'm like, oh yeah.
I am in the right chat.
Hang on, let me go over to my cave and check for culture. Wet culture.
Oh, George, how are you doing tonight?
Bloody fabulous. How are you?
Doing good. Just, having a show.
Having a show. Watching the game, having a show.
Really big show.
There are no games to watch.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
That's why we play them. That's the whole point of all this. We play the games, and then we have a show.
Okay.
Aren't they doing like weird improvisations of these things? It's like, okay, we all have football, so now we're gonna have dogs like doing like versus fetch.
You know what was funny? I got onto Rocket League the other day, and it was like, we're on ESPN. I was like, what?
Really?
Versus fetch.
Yeah, because
that sounds like something you'd see in a Nintendo old game or something.
I'll just point out that there's professional tag. Okay, so.
Yeah, but you can't be doing that.
Can't even do that right now.
That's true. There is professional tag on TV. I keep seeing ads for it, and I'm thinking, why?
It's actually not bad to watch. I'll admit, I've seen it. It's not too bad.
I should think you could still play hide and seek if you're good enough.
Oh my God, that would be some pro shit right there.
And later we're gonna play hide the banana. Giggity 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 goo.
You can't be doing that either.
All right.
Well, it depends on who he's playing with. He could play that with me anytime, George.
Competitive banana hiding. Now we're talking.
You can't hide the
Tag
banana
team
with anybody
banana
that
hiding.
isn't already in your household, though.
I wonder if you can play a game of football by Zoom.
Oh, God.
Seems like you can do everything else by Zoom these days.
My brain is breaking at the prospect of trying to picture playing football over Zoom. Like I'm sitting there seeing like a bunch of people holding their cell phones and running with the camera. Like, okay, just imagine I'm 50 yards away. Can you get to the? It
I'm in the end zone. Throw it to me. Throw it to me.
Did you?
I'll be right there.
Did y'all hear about the NASCAR guy?
Who got fired?
Which one?
I was going to say,
fired. There's a NASCAR guy.
1,000
got
good
fired.
stories start with the words, "Did you hear about the NASCAR guy?"
Well, here's one.
Here I was talking about my redneck falling out. God damn.
A NASCAR guy, like, because I guess now they're doing NASCAR in video games. They're just playing video games on Twitch, and that's how they're doing NASCAR now. And they're just getting paid big bucks, I assume. And one of them managed to still be racist on Twitch.
Yeah, I saw a clip of that.
He dropped a big ol' N-bomb and got fired.
How is that possible?
Hard R and everything. Like,
Yeah.
Nature finds a way.
Life finds a way.
It just takes me back to that old like video that I came across years ago where it's old, but it was like a sketch group that used to like prank calls to this one guy who was like a straight up bigot, and they would just like prank him all the time. And the line I never forgot him saying when they really got him riled up was he said, "It's called NASCAR, not NASCoon." And I was like, well, now I know I'm not one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't be saying that.
That guy's fired too.
Oh, that works because I'm not saying it. I'm recording what someone else said. But the point is,
and if anyone's allowed to say that, it is Pernell.
I was gonna say some
Exactly.
of us can use that tactic.
But what I can definitely say is like after hearing that, I was like, well, I had the right idea this whole time. No NASCAR for me. I'm out.
Man, and people thought the Jerky Boys were bad. Holy cow.
Aren't they? I thought they were.
Yeah, this guy looks exactly like somebody who would drop an N-word with a hard R.
Honestly, look it up at some point. I think his name was like Mr. Burgess. Like it's probably, I'm sure those clips are still on the internet somewhere. They pretty much like ran him to the ground as like a running joke.
Oh,
like,
you know, there's like lots of people on YouTube who are like, "Oh, people are so offended nowadays." This is what entertainment
Snowflakes
used
get
to be
offended
like.
by everything.
Yeah.
Oh, those are always hilarious. I feel like I've had more experience with people who call me a snowflake lose their crap and I don't care about what they have to say than the other way around. I'm going to come to your house and kill you, Pernell. Why? I don't. What the heck are you?
Why? I like that as a response.
Why?
Just give me a reason.
Just give me a reason for you. Because you copy pasted SpongeBob SquarePants. It's like, oh, I see. That makes no goddamn sense at all. What's wrong with you?
Dude, that's like the question of the era. What is wrong with everybody?
The guy that said it, I'm reading this article, and it's like, oh, the guy who said it and got suspended is half Japanese, and his grandparents spent time in an internment camp in California during World War II.
What the hell?
It just proves it takes all kinds. Holy shnikes.
It really does. It really does.
That is funny, though, that's like, you know, that's his reason. Like, so it's okay.
He thinks he gets a pass. He's so cute.
Speaking of getting passes.
Oh.
How's that for a segue?
Nice transition.
Speaking of passes, like season passes, like Cole has to. What's that theme park you go to, Cole?
I bought season passes to Camden Park this year, like a giant dumbass that I was.
Oh no!
Yeah,
you can't use it.
They won't give us a refund.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Oh, get on Twitter.
To a little amusement park in West Virginia called Camden Park. It's literally like the most rinky-dink little park ever, but it's the only one that's relatively close to us. And we were like, oh, this year we're going to get season passes. The kids can go whenever they want. They'll have a good time. And, fuck me running, huh? We ain't going nowhere because even if restrictions get lifted, I'm still immunosuppressed and it wouldn't be safe. So
right, totally. So
I plunked out $400 for season passes.
Get that on Twitter somewhere. They made the airlines pay people back when at first they didn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Really? They are not. I've been trying since March to get a refund and they ain't having it.
Get on the public forum.
And I even tried like PayPal. I filed a dispute with PayPal and they wouldn't refund it either.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Get on the Twitter. Raise hell. Seriously.
Yeah, and check their policies because chances are they have something in there that's for things like an act of God.
Non-refundable, non-transferable.
That sucks.
That
the non-transferable is the most bullcrap. I was going to say, can you at least transfer it to someone who could use it if they open back up? Like sell it to them for cheap?
Nope.
Bastards.
I was like, boy, the season passes are half off. I mean, this was back in early February. And I was like, that's awesome. You know, the only places that COVID-19 is California and Washington, we're fine. You know, shot my own self in the foot there, and then the other one to go with it.
Well, should we talk about a more pleasant kind of theme park than one that's ripping you off?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Because the next game to talk about, there was a point to this segue. I was getting there. The next game to talk about tonight is called Theme Park Simulator, developed by Best Ride Simulators, published by Badland Publishing, released April 17th on the Switch for $14.99. Theme Park Simulator is a pure simulator game with roller coasters, Ferris wheels, and many more thrill rides. You can be a tycoon of the amusement parks. George, tell us about Theme Park Simulator.
Did that actually say that you can be a tycoon of the theme park?
Of the amusement parks, yes.
Of the amusement park, okay. Because, oh man. You know, my mother always told me, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Oh no.
Review over? Okay, so review's over then. All right. That was
Man.
All right.
George, we need a little bit more than that.
Okay. Well, first of all right. So we'll break it down to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. The graphics ran smoothly. I was impressed. For what I saw coming off of the Switch, I didn't see any lagging or slowdown, especially considering some of those rides were moving decently fast when you cranked them up. So that was cool. The first-person view on the rides was fun for a hot minute. It was cool doing the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel, and the cat was weird, and it worked out. The first-person view was fun. Getting into the bad. There's one song. There is one song, and it's not that pleasant.
No. So this is the kind of game where Aki would turn the music
Euro
off.
trash too. There's a lot of good Euro trash out there. They couldn't come up with any good Euro trash.
Boots and cats and boots and cat.
Exactly. So yeah, and then the whole idea of be the tycoon of the amusement park thing. There aren't any choices in this game. Like, yeah, you can pick an angle for the camera. You can start the ride. You can stop the ride. You can speed it up and slow it down. But there aren't any consequences. If you run it too long, if you run it too short, if you don't let people stay on it long enough, if it's too fast, if it's too slow, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. So yeah, there are no good or bad choices. Okay, that brings me to the ugly. Let's just go right into it. The name is misleading as fuck. I'm sorry. There is nothing theme park about this. It's more along the lines of, you know, the traveling parks that show up in your abandoned grocery store's parking lot.
yes.
It's more like that than it is like a theme park. When you think of theme park, you expect to think of the place that like Cole has in her backyard, or a Magic Mountain, or a Six Flags place, something theme parkish. That's not what this is. This is the one that showed up one morning and you didn't even know it was coming, and you go and you buy a few tickets and you go on the Gravitron, and then it's like gone the next day. Boom, that's that. So I guess the only good part of that is you can come back to it if you want to, because it's on your Switch, but you probably don't want to. None of the things are present when I hear the word simulator. I expected a theme park simulator. I expected the ability to build something. I expected I expected an experience that had something to do with running a theme park. I was thinking something along the lines of maybe a little bit of the finance aspect, maybe a little bit of attracting crowds, maybe something related to concessions sales. You don't get any of that. So the title of the game and what is delivered is at best misleading, and at worst, it's a total bait and switch.
Damn.
That sucks.
You're not going to let me review any more games, are you?
Well, you got to be honest about what the game is. If it's not what it's setting out and claiming to be, I mean,
it doesn't seem to live up to any of the descriptions that I expected. And I kind of went out and I looked. Like, normally I don't do a lot of homework or a lot of background. I want to just jump into it and see what's going on. And after I spent a little time with it, I started going and looking for descriptions. Like, did I miss something? What is this what it's supposed to be? I can't get a sense that this is something that's worth spending $15 on.
Damn.
It's the kind of thing that I would expect to show up for anywhere in the like $1 to $4 range.
Oh.
Oof, nougat.
Well,
yeah.
then I hate to ask, but your official verdict at $15?
What are the options again?
Buy it, try it, and deny it.
Deny it.
Damn, that's a bummer.
I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, to be honest, though. Like, that's how we got Gilson B. Bontes.
You gotta be cool to be kind.
And friggin' Decay of Logos.
Yeah, it's true.
We were honest.
And Daikatana.
Honest AF about that.
Yeah. Hey, that's what we're here to do. We have to be honest. Not all the games can be winners. It seems like this is more of like an experience than an actual game, though. So
it is an experience, but there really isn't much exciting about the experience, and that's what's really disappointing to me.
What would you do to fix it? Like, how would you improve it?
I would make it more of a simulator, if you're going to call it a simulator. I would add, like, the line that you read at the very end of it about being the tycoon of the theme park. Make it a game about being a tycoon in a theme park. Like, put the business aspect of it into it somewhere, even if it doesn't mean anything. Fool me into believing that that's important as part of the simulator experience. And there's none of it there. And the more you read the description, the more I realized there's nothing in this game that has anything to do with what the description really says.
Damn.
So yeah, I'd love to see more actual experience out of this instead of start the ride, stop the ride, let people get off the ride, let people get on the ride, start the ride, stop the ride, view the ride from another angle. That's it.
Oh, well, they can't all be winners.
Nope, they can't all be ringers.
No. Well, George, always good having you on. Thank you for doing the review. I know you'll be back on again soon.
Yes, I will.
Because we are going to have you do more reviews.
We are, and I'm already in the middle of the next one, and that one's looking like a whole lot of fun.
Nice. Well, we will let you get going. Thank you, as always, for coming on and doing your thing. Do you have any final words before we let you go?
I would just like to leave you with a visual impression. Are you ready?
Oh, no.
But I can't see you.
Clown dick. Bye!
It's hilariously flaccid.
Oh, my God. I love having George on.
He's a great
twisted
dude.
into animal shapes.
Balloon animal dick.
That would be horrifying.
Balloon animal clown dick. What's not to like?
God. Mine's a
aside from
giraffe.
everything? How are you supposed to pee out of that? I haven't figured that part out.
Oh, my Lord. All right. Next game to talk about is called Guard Duty, developed by Sick Chicken Studios, published by Ratalaika Games, released April 21st on PS4 and Vita, 22nd on Xbox One, 24th on Switch for $9.99. That's right, a Ratalaika game is $9.99. That is not a typo.
Oh, no.
Is that expensive?
For Ratalaika, yeah.
I was gonna say, do they never do $10 games?
They may have in the past, but it's not often. They're
usually
normally
tap
$5
out about
games.
$7.99.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, under
Okay.
Tonbert's watch, someone has snuck into the kingdom and kidnapped the princess, an event that will have consequences well into the future. 1,000 years later, humanity is on its last legs before being wiped out by an evil dark force. Join Agent Starborn to save the Earth and vanquish an evil that has been around for centuries. Chris, tell us about Guard Duty.
All right, Guard Duty. Guard Duty is a point-and-click adventure game made very much in the grand tradition of the LucasArts and like Sierra style old PC point-and-click adventure games. Particularly, like my favorite of which, it actually was my first point-and-click game, was Discworld, the Discworld adaptations on PlayStation. And this one actually, it really does seem to fashion itself after Discworld a little bit at first. In fact, it makes direct references to one of the Discworld games, which itself is based on the Terry Pratchett novels. So, you know, who knows what they're actually referencing. They also reference like Monty Python later. So this is clearly people who have a penchant for old British wit. So yeah, it basically is a kind of thing where, you know, you wake up in your room. First thing you need to do, you know, after a birthday celebration, the overnight, like basically the night shift guard at the gate, who is seen drinking and singing happy birthday to himself. And then he lets a mysterious stranger into the town, because why not? And then, and then wakes up the next day. He has no clothes on except for his long johns. And so the first thing you must do, and his front door is locked and he has lost the key for years. So the first thing you have to do is figure out how to get out of your own room. And that's where your adventure kind of begins. You have in your possession an infinity pouch, a pencil, and a piece of paper. And the piece of paper is your to-do list, which is actually a really cool feature that old school point and clicks never had. And so I actually really like that this one, he scribbles a little note every time you complete a task, and then writes down another task, and he writes his own little illustrations in stick figure, and it's adorable. So, you know, once you get out of your window and fall down screaming into the palace garden, and then you end up with your head in a beehive and you get stung by several bees, now you have to figure out how to fix your face because now it's too swollen to speak. And this is where I actually really appreciated the effort that went into the voice acting, because you can talk to anybody in the town that you first occupy, while your face is still swollen, and he's got a whole different like kind of voice, and it's translated on screen, of course. But like if you go back, and he'll do the same lines, but in his normal voice, like once you fix that problem. And yeah. I was like, oh, that's nice. And that's like actually indicative of like a lot of the quality that went into this game. It is super well animated. Like certain scenes will have trees that are actually like, you know, leaves are blowing, and, you know, some leaves are blowing across the screen and things like that. Like little things are alive in the background of the game, which, you know, it's a 340 by 280 resolution game. Like they literally actually have, you know, wood blocks on the sides of the screen to make it a 4:3 thing. So they're really, really dedicated to making it look old school and yet super smooth. So yeah, you basically have your infinity pouch in which you get all kinds of items that you pick up. And so here's the thing. The old way of, especially British point and clicks, of which this one is very much that kind of thing. I haven't seen the credits, but I assume this is a British product. If not, it's people who definitely played a lot of them. You know, so they have a grand tradition of being very pretty, very well written, usually well voice acted, but having absurd puzzles of like things like, you know, oh, you combine this worm with this pencil and this tube of glue, and now you have a fishing pole. And like, you know, you need the fishing pole to like open a window or something, like, you know, like just weird random stuff like that usually just amounts to like trying to combine everything with everything and then just seeing what works. And then, you know, in any time after the year 2000, you would then go immediately to the internet and figure and like read what to do. Nope. This game is actually has a modernness to it. That is to say, it's all the puzzles were designed to be intuitive, and they usually involve only doing one thing with one item in one place. there's very little pixel hunting. There's actually a scene where when you get your armor back, which is the final piece of your clothing, and there's some pretty comedic stuff like involved in getting your pants back, for instance. But yeah, once you get your shirt back, like it's locked in a chest, like basically where your shift is, and the guard that's doing the day shift is like, oh, once you get everything else lined up and you're ready to get your shirt, he's like, oh, the key is in the usual place. And so you have to find the usual place. Turns out it's just the grass on the other side of the chest. And it's big and it's highlighted and it actually says the usual place.
No, Lord.
And you go over and immediately find the key.
By the way, they are British. They're from the UK.
Okay. I figured because this is absolutely a British type of point and click game. So they made the puzzles to where I would say this is a great entry point for people who want to get into the genre but have tried something maybe a little older and they were just like, this is too confusing. Although the game is a little on the short side, it's got 3 acts. The first 2 take place in the past, and then a thing happens that affects the future, of course, and then the last act is spent largely in the future, trying to fix a problem. I'm trying to be very spoiler free here because it's actually a very good story that I think is interesting. It's a little odd that it actually does go from being a goofball type of point and click to actually kind of serious for a while, and then it kind of goes back to goofball for a second. Especially when they're parodying other games, which they absolutely do. There's a lot of Metal Gear Solid references that I won't get into because they're more funny if you come across them organically. There's even one, and by the way, this is a tip for people who are achievement hunters, because this being a Ratalaika game, it actually does not have the easy platinum. Like you actually have to get through pretty much the whole game. And there's one missable.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what it is. It is, you have to give a coin, which is already in your inventory, to a beggar who is, his name in the game is Assassin. He's dressed in white and appears to have broken his leg after a long fall. And he asks for a coin, and if you give him the coin, then it gives you an achievement called Assassin's Greed. Badoomsh. So yeah, basically it's a nice little adventure that it's at 3 acts that are fairly long if you're doing the thing of stopping and talking to everybody and hearing their stories. There's a lot of people you can simply just talk to and learn about their history and past and hear a few witty things. It's not overtly hilarious like the Discworld game was, but it is definitely in that thing of the writing will definitely pull you in. The voice acting's good. Even where it's bad, it's good. And the puzzles are interesting and engaging, but they don't overwhelm you. And that to me is actually kind of nice because I'm used, when it comes to point and clicks, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to put a whole week into this because I'm going to get stuck on one thing and it's going to turn out I just need to walk over a little further to the left or something, or just pixel hunt my way through things. It's a little nicer than that. So for that reason, I really appreciate it.
Carnage is saying it sounds like one of the more polished Ratalaika games. So for $10, what's your verdict?
$10, I say go for it. If you're a fan of point and clicks, it's a nice breezy one. That's, like I said, well written. Graphics are beautiful, and the voice acting is really good. You'll like the story. I think it's a very interesting take on both being a genre parody and also being its own thing. And for beginners to the genre, this one comes highly recommended because again, it lacks a certain absurdity that keeps most people locked out, especially in modern day, out of the genre. So I like it. I say to buy it.
Awesome. Cole, did you have anything to add to it?
No, I pretty much agree with everything Chris said. It was a really solid. It was far better than I expected for a Ratalaika. So at least it justifies having a higher price for a Ratalaika game.
I think doing some research that it was a little more expensive when it was PC only.
Yeah. So I I'm on board. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was kind of goofy and quirky, and I got tickled every time he turned around and you could see his ass crack.
That happens, yes.
So I mean, I found a lot of humor, and I thought it was really good.
And bonus points that it only happens a few times in the game, but sometimes a line will actually have an emoji at the end.
Yeah.
And actually, that really tickled me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was quirky and charming and goofy, and I was into it.
Yeah, it's everything you want out of the PNC.
1K it in about an hour. So
I'll have to give this one a go. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually probably going to buy this on Switch myself since I have such a collection on there.
Nice. All right. Well, next game to talk about is called Active Neurons, puzzle game developed by Nikolai Yusukev and Usanic, published by Sometimes You, released April 29th on Xbox One, Switch, PS4, and Vita for $4.99. By controlling the power of thought, you must charge the neurons. The more neurons are charged, the healthier the brain becomes. The healthier the brain becomes, the more of a fully fledged life the person will live. Cole, how fully fledged is your life because of this game?
Not as fully fledged as it could be, because the game is surprisingly difficult, even though it's very simple in its presentation and its idea. Basically, each level has a square, and you have an opaque square, and you need to get your square into the level's empty square. Are you keeping up with me here?
Mm-hmm. Square go into square.
Square go into square. Put the ball into hole. Basically, but it's not a ball, it's a square. It's very simple. You press up, square goes up. The thing is that it's always going to go the entire length of the column or row that it is on. So you need to plan, okay, if I press up one time, it's going all the way across the board. If I press to the right, it's going all the way to the right, unless there's another square blocking its way to stop it. So you need to basically figure out, if I press right to hit a square and then up to go all the way to the top, I can then bypass that square, press over and down, and put the square in the square. It's a lot of squares going on. Eventually it gets more advanced, and then you have danger squares. And they're red, and clearly don't ever touch anything red in the video game ever. It's bad luck. It's bad for your health. You will do it again. Then they add in blue squares, and you can knock the blue squares around, and they destroy the red squares. Then they add in pink squares, and those motherfuckers move. It just gets plumb unruly as it continues on. Every 10 levels is a neuron, and you fill up a little bit of the neuron as you complete the 10 levels. You complete all 10, you go on to the next neuron, you get an achievement for the one you just knocked out. So then this carries on throughout the brain. Once you beat all the brain levels, then you go on to do the body levels.
I'm gonna sneeze. Uh-oh. I feel a sneeze coming on.
Get back.
I'm trying to keep it at bay, but I feel it tickling in my throat, so it might happen.
You know what I like to do with my daughter when she needs to sneeze? I say, bless you, and then she can't sneeze anymore. So, good luck. I done said it now.
Took a drink. I'm hoping that I brought attention to it. It scared it away. I think I'm okay.
Okay. So, active neurons. I want to point out that initially, the puzzles seem easy enough, and it kind of feels like it's an insult because it's so easy. You're like, this is supposed to be a puzzle game. And then you get into the later levels, and you're like, I'm sorry, you take it back. Let it be easy again. But there's a little trick up your sleeve, because you can press Y at any time to see the solution to the puzzle. There is no punishment for doing it. None of the puzzles are timed. It doesn't even stop you for getting credit as far as like filling up the neuron. It doesn't block any achievements. You press Y and be like, show me the ways, Blockmaster. And it tells you what to do, and then you beat it. I'm very proud of myself. I only did it one time, the first level, because there's an achievement for it, and I have not done it since. I was like, what's this do? Oh, it pops an achievement. Carry on.
Nice.
I am good. But it makes the game a lot easier, and it makes it to where if you're struggling, you don't get locked out of the rest of the game. Sometimes there's just that one level that, for whatever reason you can't beat level 12, but you go on to beat level 128 just fine. Sometimes you just get stuck on 1 or 5 or 128. It doesn't fucking matter. Sometimes it just happens and you need a solution. And I like that the game doesn't penalize you for needing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't let you get stuck and not be able to carry on. Good accessibility feature.
Yeah. So and the best part is it's only a $5 game.
It's not even $5. It's on sale right now for $3.99.
Oh, well then get it while it's on sale.
So yeah, I mean, in a lot of circumstances, I'd be like, fuck it, why not? But no, if you like puzzle games and you like the block sliding type of puzzle games, you're gonna fucking have a blast. You're really gonna enjoy it, and it's a good challenge, and you're not gonna get too stuck. So I'm cool with giving it a full on buy it.
Cool beans.
Yeah, good beans.
All right. Next game to talk about is called Crawlers and Brawlers, developed and published by Ugly Beard Games, released April 29th on Xbox One for $7.99. Go on a fantastic adventure of killing enemies, grabbing loot, and defeating powerful bosses with 3 different classes in this classic 8-bit inspired RPG. Crawl dungeons with your friends in local split screen or online co-op, and brawl online with up to 16 players. Pernell, tell us about Crawlers and Brawlers.
It is literally an 8-bit Diablo clone of sorts. There's not a lot to say about this game. I'm done. So what is Crawlers and Brawlers? Essentially, you are a little 8-bit sprite man. You choose who you want to be at the offset of the game, either a warrior, a mage, or a cleric. And then for the record, I'm speaking on the story mode because I primarily play with the intent being I'm playing single player. So how does this work? So you choose your character, and then you're dumped on an island, which is where you can run around and like purchase a few things, and also choose your mode of play. But once you choose story mode, the game kind of just throws you into like a little like boat, or I guess ended up being an inn. But the plot of the game is that you are a character who wants to learn to be an adventurer. And the main adventurer in the town is a jerk. So you're sent off on your own device to learn what it means to be an adventurer. And what that typically results in is you talking to a bunch of different people at different times to get sent on a bunch of different fetch quests by diving into tombs filled with monsters and killing them until you find the item that you need to give, hand it over, and then boom, quest complete. Now, the game itself, how does it actually play, though, when you're going to all these different places? Because there's an overworld map and all that you're running around. But the way it is, it functions like a twin-stick shooter. Your right thumbstick allows you to aim the direction of your attack, and then the right trigger is how you ultimately end up using said attack. As you level up your character, you gain access to... Originally, you just kind of access 4 different abilities. Those 4 abilities are the thing that your main character will use, all mapped to the 4 trigger and bumper buttons on the top of your controller. You'll also level up and gain skill points, which you can dump into like a pretty rudimentary skill tree for each class of character, typically built around the idea of saying, hey, I want to build up, put points in this ability, which allows me to like use this attack and gain like a 40% buff in my defense just while this attack is running. It's not a complicated skill tree. We're talking like basically like 12 different boxes, and there's only like a few like nodes that are connected. Otherwise, it's just like, hey, do this thing. You just level this stuff up. Now, the enemies themselves, when you go into different tunes, they usually keep it a pretty low-key amount of guys. Like it's not like a ton of variety to them. Just based on the dungeon you're in, it determines who you're going to be fighting. Might be a series of goblins and orcs, or a bunch of spooky ghosts, or another set of goblins and orcs. It's just a matter of whatever the dungeon is built around, you'll be fighting those guys in that dungeon. Now, when you die, however, the penalty for death is kicking you back to the last checkpoint, and you lose a little bit of money in your inventory, which honestly is almost a small potatoes consequence. But the unfortunate side effect, though, is the fact that enemies don't respawn. So when they're gone, they're gone. So if you lost money, you ain't getting it back. So be smart about dying or not dying in this game. The weirdness of the thing, though, is that some of the enemies have hard tells. Like, for example, the aforementioned ghosts I was talking about, and other enemies like them, like weird spiders and stuff that I fought, where you'll be fighting them and they'll just teleport right behind you and start damaging you. There's no tell that they're going to do it. They just do it, you know. Another time you'll fight an enemy like a mage, and he'll cause like a fire to boil off from underneath your guy, and you think, okay, I need to get out of the way here, but you don't realize because it's already too late. You're getting your ass handed to you because you can't even tell the guy's doing the attack. So you ultimately get used to the fact you're going to die a lot, mostly due to just foils and screw ups on the games, not the games part, but more like on your part for not noticing something because the tells aren't there. But you adjust to it. The penalty for death is low, so it doesn't hurt as much. There's also healing potions you can kind of have equipped similar to mana potions, and you purchase them at the store, or enemies will drop them sometimes. And when you need to, you can press the X button to just chug one to get some of your hit points back. But the most important comparison to Diablo that I need to mention is the inventory. As you're running around and you're killing guys, they'll drop equipment. Sometimes you come across stores, they sell equipment. But ultimately, it's a lot of equipment in the game, and they have a variety of different stats, and they have that weird naming convention that like Diablo would have, where if you get like a green rarity, it'll be called like the firm robe of the seagull instead of just the seagull robe, you know. And all those different equipment items have like various stat buffs, such as like in one of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stats: attack, defense, endurance, luck, energy, health, and mana. I'm going to assume that mana is with everybody in some capacity, but I was playing as the mage, so I'm assuming mana for him was your magic power for using your spells. Again, you have 4 attacks, and so those are what they come out of. That's the mana and the spells. My weirdness about the game, though, is that you ever play a game where you don't really quite feel like this is like the one, but since you actually are in the middle of playing it, you do find yourself saying, oh, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. And just keep getting more stuff and trying it. Like, I had that vibe with this game. Like, it's functional. It works. And I'm assuming that the price point's going to be pretty low when you eventually quote it.
Do you not pay attention at the beginning when I say the price?
No, I try to intentionally ignore it. Not the actual Lord descriptive, but only the price I try to ignore. So I don't want to make I don't want my review to be dependent on whatever price you quote. But the game itself, the price may well be a factor here because it's good for being cheap. But if you got like $20 or something, there's a lot of other games in this style of play that give you more like a more in-depth plot or whatnot. Though with that in mind, speaking of the plot, I will say that the dialogue, when you can read it, actually is pretty funny. But like I mentioned jokingly when Cole mentioned the accessibility features and moving out, one of the biggest issues I have with this game is that I have trouble reading it when I'm playing it. The text is very, very, very tiny, and I'm on a 55-inch TV. I know plebe size compared to most TVs these days, but I'm on a 55-inch TV, and it is very hard to read that text in my living room playing it. Although there's been times where I'm just like, I don't even feel like reading the text because it's making me squint, so I ignore it, which I'm assuming they did not intend. I'm assuming there's a way for them to probably patch that in there if they really wanted to kind of make the text a little bit bigger. But, yeah, there's a lot of screen real estate here, guys. Stretch that out a bit. Put it to use. But, yeah, I had a lot of trouble reading the dialogue in this game. There's also a funny aspect where I thought the bosses were a little too hard at first, but what I came to realize is that you can work around that and at least kind of like there's easy ways around beating bosses that look really difficult at first attempt. So maybe that was intentional on their part too, but just warning in advance, when you get to your first few bosses, don't be like, oh, this game is impossible, I friggin' quit, because there's a waste. I'm surprised I didn't beat some of the guys I beat, but lo and behold, I pulled it off. So it's a hard thing to say as far as how I feel about the game because it's a perfectly functional game. I'm sure someone who just wants to play, like Chris said earlier, he likes the idea of an 8-bit, Diablo. That is literally what this is. I mean, when I played Diablo, I'll probably be one of those guys that rarely says this, but I didn't care about the plot in Diablo. I just wanted to kill guys and get more gear.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, that could be a similar vibe to this game. I can't read it, but whatever. I just want to kill dudes and get more gear. You can probably have that feel. But if you can go through that process and enjoy it just for what it is, I don't see why you wouldn't play it, but at the same time, it's there's probably if you want something a little bit more on the polished side as opposed to just like the goofy gun gameplay side, you probably want to look elsewhere for that because this is all about 8-bit dungeon crawling charm. I mean, it's even randomly generated, so you can't even you only get the same dungeon twice if you come back and play it. So.
And you were worried about the price. You were worried it might be an expensive game, but it's 8-bit and $8, so $7.99.
Oh, you 8-bit and $8.
8-bit and $8, so $7.99. What is your verdict on Crawlers and Brawlers?
I give it a try it if you want a good time killer. Yeah, let's go with try it. I like try it. It's not a deny it, but at least a try.
Cool.
Cole, what'd she do?
No, cool, you dork.
I did everything. Do you know how many games we reviewed tonight that I've played?
Most of them?
They weren't even my games. And here I am. Like, what up, bitches? Let me tell you about it.
That's the power of
Do you
Cole.
have anything to say about Crawlers and Brawlers, Cole?
No, I actually didn't play that one.
Well, God damn it.
You tuned your horn at the wrong time. I played every game on the show. What about the... I didn't play
didn't
that
say
one.
everyone. I said, do you know how many I played?
Embellish!
I didn't embellish nothing. You made that shit up on your own.
I embellished your claim.
Uh-huh.
Well, speaking of games Cole hasn't played, one final game for the PartyCast to discuss is called Gun Crazy, developed by Ritual Games and Grab the Games, published by Radlaika Games. Released April 28th on PS4 and Vita, 30th on Xbox One, May 1st on the Switch for $4.99. Gun Crazy is a fast-paced and hectic arcade-style action shoot-'em-up in homage to the old-school classics. Become the fiercest lady on the police force, take out the bad guys through 4 unique levels filled with challenging bosses and powerful special guns. Chris, tell us about Gun Crazy.
$4.99, you say?
Yes.
That is the price of this game.
Yes, it is.
I don't know where this is going.
I'm just being annoying. Okay.
Thank you for paying attention to the price when I say it, by the way.
Oh, come on.
I gotta thank you.
I did.
Okay. So, Gun Crazy, yes, this is a run and gun, also punch occasionally type of game. It is kind of a retro throwback, but, modern retro. So, lots of extra pixels and colors and, 60 frames per second, that sort of thing. This one is, so here's the thing. I, even in a genre already pretty light on storylines and things like that, we don't really know too much about Contra, although they do tell us a little bit about it, right? But this game is really, the motivations of anything in this game are just the best kept secret out of this whole thing. There is not a word of story. There's no character name. It's a lady. The one plot element I could read is the word police, which is on the side of her car. So
also, she's gun crazy.
But she's gun crazy, yes. I like to think that she has been kicked off the force for being too gun crazy. And, she's
a rogue agent.
She's a rogue agent. Yeah. She's a loose cannon. And she has a cannon. She has a cannon for an arm. So that works. And then the other arm is a giant fist. So I like to think that one of her cannons was confiscated along with her badge, and then she picked up a giant fist and was like, I'm going to prove that these random machines and blobs and circles are actually the crazy ones. And in doing so, sort of restores her good name on the force with her trusty car, Police.
Named Police.
Yeah, named Police. She busts through 4 stages of shooting at machinery and circles. So there are no arrests made in the game. So the first stage, there's circles that appear overhead and shoot other circles at you. And I do mean circles. There is a circle with a circle inside of it that it kind of looks like like a floor light, one of those ones that you go cuck, and that it's battery powered and it shows a light. it's like those, and they shoot, bullets at you, but the big fluffy bullets that like you might see in a Mega Man game.
Hold on a second.
What's that?
You're a cop, and
Yes.
in the entire game, you
Yes.
don't arrest anyone.
You do not interact with a single human.
She's
Where the hell
going
did Aki
crazy.
come from?
I've been in here the whole time. I'm just being nice and not interrupting people. God.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You understand? She's gone crazy.
But that's okay. That's a worthwhile question to ask, because yes, there are no people or animals, or even there are in the first stage, the second half, there are large screen-sized robots that look vaguely humanoid, but you do blow them to smithereens, so there's no arrest being made there either. The final boss is a robot. It's, there's no well, it's a vehicle, but there's nobody in the vehicle because it just explodes and you're done. So yeah, like but that's like the kind of thing about this game. It's like, it's very pretty. The sprites look really good. The music's really good. Actually like it. The action is super tight. I like that. There's just a lot of things I question about this game, in terms of like its place in its genre. And that's one of them, is why are you only fighting? Like the second stage is one of those where you actually don't run, you only gun. You're just in one room and just balls appear, like literally like balls. They just bounce off the walls and hurt you if they hit you. And they just come in patterns and you just have to shoot them before they hit you, which is impossible.
It turns into Buster Brothers.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And yeah, like the boss of that stage is a robot vehicle, like all of them. But before that, it's just bouncy balls. Like that's all you're doing is shooting bouncy balls. And then the third stage is inexplicable because you are riding on top of police, which is the name of your car, by the way. And it's supposedly an auto scroller, right? Because the background's moving and stuff. But it's the same concept. It's just like you're sitting in a room and enemies appear. They don't just like rush in like it would in an auto run, like, in an auto scrolling stage. They don't come out of one side of the screen. They just appear while you're standing on top of police and, walking back and forth. And the mechanic there is weird because like you have to be on top of the car. Otherwise, your bullets don't work. If you run down to the hood, which is the only way to get the car to move, you have to run to the hood and then like try to run off the side, and that pushes the car forward on the screen. Same thing with the rear, but your bullets just disappear. Like they don't do anything, and then so you have to run back to the middle in order to shoot stuff. And the game's not designed, like the enemy placement's not designed to utilize that in any way. It's just annoying. And
I wonder if that's a glitch, because I didn't run into an issue where my bullets disappeared on the hood on that stage.
That must be a glitch then. I don't know, because that definitely happened to me. I'm on that stage right now. In fact, I've been playing it this whole time.
That is weird. Yeah, I didn't run into that on that stage, and I played that stage amazingly. It's a Ratalaika game, so you don't have to play that stage, obviously, to get your completion. All you have to do is beat stage 2.
Yeah, if you beat stage 2, you get the platinum trophy.
Yeah.
I was gonna save that to the end, but that's the truth of it.
It's Ratalaika.
It's Ratalaika.
Expected.
Yeah. This very classic Ratalaika. So like there's that. There's also when you are in stage 1 and stage 4, actually, fully running around with your character. So you have 7 direction shooting. You can shoot behind you, in front of you, straight up, and to the diagonal sides there. You can shoot diagonally if you're jumping on the left and right. You can't shoot straight down in a game where there's lots of platforming in stage 1 where there are enemies directly below you.
No.
Yeah, so anyway, but the game does give you different things other than your infinite shot, which is like a kind of half of the screen shot that's really fast and fairly powerful, but it's your basic shot. It doesn't reach all the way to the end of the screen. Then you get like a big shotgun type shot. You get a really fast machine gun shot that's much more powerful. You get a solid laser beam that can take out one of those walking robots in like a second. The thing is, those weapons are limited by ammo, and that ammo depletes pretty quickly, and it's always a set amount. You can't get 2 power-ups and get your ammo boosted. It just brings it back up to the maximum amount, which is usually like 100 or 200. And there's no way to save them. Like, you can't switch back to your regular gun. They just deplete over time, usually within a few seconds, and that's it. Like, you don't get to save them for a boss or anything like that. So it's like they just put them in there just to show them off, because I haven't run across them yet where they actually really help in the situation. And again, going with my original thought of like this being like things being inexplicable in this game, there's one spot in stage 1 where you run across the top of a thing. Like, you have to shoot some boxes that are there, and if you shoot all the boxes, you can't get up there. But if you do like make yourself a ladder or just a stepping stone to get up there, you can shoot one block that's in your way for a power-up, and then there's a second block in your way that also contains a power-up. They're both random, but you can't move past that second box without shooting it. So you get a power-up just to have it replaced with another power-up immediately. Like, it's just different little moves like that I just kept going through this game and being like, this game is like fun and it's fine, but I don't understand this. So it's interesting to me. But like I said, and the other thing is that the character, like, they don't explain, she's gun crazy, but she also has the giant fist, which, by the way, what it is that it's a melee attack that automatically she punches when an enemy gets close enough. Usually she'll take a lot of damage when that happens too. Which, by the way, is the thing about this game. It has a hard limit on lives and continues. And it is a little on the tough side, because as all these giant explosions happen, you will usually, like, the bullet sprites go behind the explosions, so you'll end up missing, like, you'll end up not being able to see a lot of things that can kill you.
Yeah.
You get 5 hits per life, 3 lives per continue, and 3 continues per game. Once it's game over, it just shows you a skull. And then let's one more inexplicable thing that I noticed. Okay, so it shows you a skull, and the skull goes away after you push start or something. It takes a long time too. And then you go back to the title screen. I noticed when the skull started to disappear, I pushed start and it brought up the BGM, SFX, and resume and quit, like, pause menu. And then I noticed they were doing this little thing of like black circles would like appear and widen to fade out the screen, but the screen is already black except for the skull. So why is that there? It's doing this like Windows screensaver style like fade out that you can't see unless you access the pause menu from the game over screen. And I'm like, what is this and why? It's a wonderful mystery.
It is. So
Yeah.
$5 on it. What do you think?
Oh, sure. It's fine. If you want a nice little running gun to, like, beat your head against until you finally beat it. Oh, and by the way, it unlocks a 1 credit clear mode. So it's this, I assume the same game, it seems to be that, you only get 1 continue. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It's perfectly fun. It's got some hiccups here and there. And like I said, it's got all these inexplicable things about it, but hey, I kept playing it and it was fun enough. For $5, I'd say, why not?
And most people are going to play this for the achievements and the trophies, so.
True. And yeah, beat level 2, which is not that hard, and you get all the trophies.
You're good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for the PartyCast. We got one more review to take care of with Tim. So I'm going to let everyone else here go, and I'm going to take care of that with him. And that's my excuse that I already recorded it and he's not here, and I'm just going to edit it and splice it together.
Hooray.
At least
Giving
you're
away our
honest.
secrets.
Yeah, I'm giving away the trade secrets. Anyone have any final words?
I really wish that she would have rusted people in that game, especially the car, because that would have been fucking hilarious.
She would have
But she's
arrested the
gun
car.
crazy. She can't. No time to arrest. Got to pew pew. Crazy.
All right, and finally tonight we're bringing in our good friend Tim Ekibus. Tim, how are you
Oh,
doing?
shit. Oh, God. I just threw my fucking phone on the floor. I'm great. Other than that, it's fine now. Everything's fine. It was sitting on top of my notebook, and I was going to do a cool, like, flip the phone up and then catch it with my hand. And then it just went.
And that failed?
That failed.
Damn. Your phone okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I cracked it a couple weeks ago. It just, I don't know. It like hit. I was like tossing it. I'm a little too rough with my phone in general. Like, people would be aghast at how I kind of toss it around. But I was like putting it, I was like just walking by the bookshelf, and I went to toss it on the bookshelf because I think I was going to change my pants. And like it just like slipped out of my hand, hit like the edge of the bookshelf, and fell on the floor and got a nice little crack in the top of it. It's still mostly like 90% fine.
Now, do you have a case on it and a screen protector and all that stuff?
I do not. Well, there's a screen protector now to keep it from fucking breaking more. But like, yeah, no, there was a case on it. It's just like it hit like, I don't know. It just hit it's just like right at the top corner. Like must have hit just so to bypass where the lip of the case is. And get a little crack in the top. Yeah, and I don't. It's still functional, and it's past the point where it bothers me. It's just there now because it's only on like the top, like 1/6 of the screen. So yeah, it's kind of out of the functional area of it, anyways. So it's mostly fine.
As long as it still works, that's the important part.
It still works. Yeah, I don't feel the need to go to some phone repair place to have spend $200 for him to fucking fix it. That's not happening.
No
thanks.
I am ballsy. I don't have a case on my phone. I don't have a case. I don't have a screen protector. It is all natural.
They are a lot sturdier than they used to be, but well, in this particular case, I paid for my hubris. I bet you I don't even know if I'd had a protector on there if that would have saved it, but oh well, whatever. I'm not fussed.
Well, you're here to talk about a game. We should probably do that.
We should probably do that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long show. Might as well get to it. Final game to talk about tonight is called War Theater, developed and published by Arcade Distillery, released April 24th on Xbox One for $4.99. Wars come to Kasali, and endless conflict rages. 7 warriors discover an ancient power that promises mastery over any battlefield. Tim, tell us about War Theater.
War Theater. Yeah, so this is a game that is not unlike Advance Wars, if you are familiar with that series. The Nintendo's portable turn-based strategy series that occasionally appeared on consoles that they eventually gave up on in favor of Fire Emblem, which is kind of the same stuff, what with less modern warfare, and more anime in it, which is great and wonderful. Three Houses was great. Anyways, but yeah, so there's been a slight bump in the past few years of like indie developers, I think, trying to capture specifically that Advance Wars feel of just like old overhead turn-based, tanks and soldiers and planes sort of deal. And that's kind of this. That is this. Oh my God. Yeah, child is in the room. I don't know if you can hear him. It's like as soon as I started talking, he started being loud. What's up, bud? No, he's just getting. Yeah, you can take the armadillo. That's fine. Just try to keep it down over there, okay, bud? Okay. It's okay. So yeah, the theme of the game has kind of like this, like plague, like steampunk, World War I-ish, like dystopian. Don't go upstairs. Okay. Sort of vibe to it, and yeah, this is only a $5 game, so it's pretty straightforward. Or to put it less nicely, bare bones, I guess. You have your campaign mode. There's a shop for buying stuff, and there is like a non-campaign, just like generic skirmish mode. There is a campaign for each of the 7 different general characters. That is kind of how the main distinct mechanics of the game revolve around those characters, as they each have different benefits and abilities that they can use. And so like they will have like a couple of different special abilities and that will affect units differently. So you kind of want to like base your strategies and how you use your armies around that. And each one gets their own campaign with kind of like their own little story beats and stuff like that. Like it's nothing too crazy or too complicated. That's just how it goes. Your units, they have kind of like the rock, paper, scissors system going on, where you'll have your infantry guys are good against like maybe there's some infantry guys that are good against like air units, and tanks are good against infantry, and then there's some units that are like tank busters. The terrain will make a difference. They'll give your characters like defense bonuses or attack bonuses or what have you. So using the terrain, cities, mountains, and forests will make a difference with that. Again, all of this is very much like Advance Wars or lots of games in this vein. Now, as you play through, you will earn gold. Gold can be spent in the shop on two different things, and then also in the shop there's another thing which I remember what it is now. I will get to.
It's almost like we're recording this a second time.
So weird. And so in the shop you can buy perks, and perks you can equip before you go into a battle, which will give you benefits to, you do more damage against this type of unit, you do more damage when firing from mountains, you get better defense from cities, whatever, that sort of thing. You can also you also have to spend money to unlock commanders for the skirmish mode, which I think is kind of ridiculous for a simple like $5 game. And like the skirmish mode is totally offline. Like it's either you against AI or you against a friend in the room, kind of doing couch co-op. But it makes you spend gold to unlock the different commanders, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I kind of feel they should just all be unlocked. Like it gives you one commander a day that is free to play as, but it's a little $5 game. This is an offline mode. Like it's not an online. This isn't like an online free to play game where they want to try to tempt you to spend dollars to unlock commanders. Like just have the commanders unlocked. Like it's just really baffling to me, because then you got, I don't know why you do that. It doesn't make sense. The other thing in the shop is that you can take on missions or bounties rather. So if you meet those conditions, like you destroy X amount of enemies with this unit, you will get a gold bonus, which will help you build up gold to buy the useful perks and the aggravating unlocks for the skirmish mode. There is no online play. There is not a lot of options in this game for customization. Like in the options menu is pretty empty. It's just adjust the music. The battles are decent. They're okay. Like, they can take a little while. They can be a little bit grindy. There are animations when your units attack other units, which will wear out their welcome pretty quickly. And it took me a while to figure out that you can just push a button to skip them. There is no, like, I am used to these games of going into the options and being like, skip battle animations. Like that's what I'm used to from recent years playing these types of games. But in this game, no, you just smack a button and then it just cuts back to the map. Got to be careful not to smack A too fast, because if you sit there and tap it, you'll go into the menu and end your turn before you're ready. But even with that, like it's still, you have to manually tap the button to skip an animation every time. It still takes a while for enemy units just to move around, because it shows you each one moving individually, and it's still like a little bit time consuming. The game is pretty basic, but it is $5, so it's like okay overall. I think the art looks pretty good. I like the art style of Arcade Distillery titles. Yeah, it's nice and sharp, but it's not like generic. Like there's still some unique style to the characters and how they look in the world. The music is nice and moody. It's decent. Like if you're looking for that very specific type of game and you got $5 burning a hole in your pocket or less, as I was told, apparently that this game's on Switch and can be commonly grabbed for about $1. Yeah, Arcade Distillery does really, really good sales on their games every now and then. Yeah, one of those deals. So you might be able to wait that out. Of course, this is the Xbox version. So if you have Game Pass, Wargroove is on Game Pass, which is certainly a better version of iteration on this type of formula. But if you've already played through that and you're looking for like a little something to mess around with a little bit, it's not bad. So your overall verdict at $5? It is a somewhat enthusiastic try. Like it's not something you should be running out and throwing $5 at immediately, but if you're in the mood, like you can definitely while away a couple hours of tanky strategy playing this.
Now, because it is a cheaper game, it does qualify for fuck it, why not?
Why not? Hey, man, no. I don't think I've given one of those out in a long time. Maybe. It's on that border, I guess.
It's on the border between try it and fuck it, why not? It's only $5. Try it.
It's only $5. It's certainly when if it hits that dollar sale, then it becomes fuck it, why not? Absolutely. $5, still $5.
True. All right, well, that is it for this episode. Tim, thanks for being here and helping wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone else who came on and did their thing. Pernell, Chris, Cole, DarkMika, and thanks to Eduardo at Eclipse Games for coming on and chatting with us. I told you, it's been a long one.
Yeah.
It's been an action-packed extravaganza of talking.
Of talking.
Yeah. Do you have any final words to end the show?
No, I'm gonna mention again, which will confuse people by me saying again, that Last of Us 2 spoilers are out there and abound on the internet. So be careful what you're clicking on. Be aware. I got something possibly spoiled for me just by clicking on a completely unrelated Twitter post. Someone was just being a dick and sliding in there and with just like, hey, here's a spoiler. And it's like, oh, hey, fuck you, guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a real bummer. So watch out for that. Hopefully it will dissipate the further away we get from when it actually leaked. But I'm sure it'll ramp up again right before the game actually drops here in a month and a half or so.
Yeah, we're still a good 2 months away from that. Month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
So, lesson here is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, please. Don't be a dick, but have your dick radar up. Dick sensors activate.